Presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, it may only be April, but here in St. Louis, it's a midsummer kind of day. What a beautiful day for baseball in downtown St. Louis as Fox Sports Ohio brings you Cincinnati Reds baseball. Today, it's game 2 of the 3-game set. The Reds against the St. Louis Cardinals. Hi, hello, and welcome to St. Louis, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch and Jim Dale, join us a little bit later on. I'm George Grand. You know, when you come to St. Louis, you know you're going to face a lot of red. You know you're going to face a red-hot team these days. But you talk about red-hot, Chris, boy, Zach Kozar's been red-hot for the Reds.
Well, you know, for a guy that missed most of the year last year with an ACL injury, there was really some concern as to how he was going to come back offensively. Were we going to see the Zach Kozar that we saw in the first couple of months of last season, or the Zach Kozar from 2014 where he really struggled at the plate? Well, just take a look at this. He's hit safely in all 6 games he's been in. The guy makes contact, almost off-the-world numbers as far as him being able to at least put the bat on the ball. And it just goes to show you when you go to the plate and you relax up there the way Kozar seems to me right now, and you use your hands to swing and let that barrel of the bat do the talking. I mean, it's so much easier. He's hitting the ball to all fields. He looks good. And right now, you know, what Brian Price thought was an experiment with him at the top of the lineup, it looks like he's there to stick for a while.
You talk about letting your bat do your talking, letting your arm do your talking is the way that Brandon Finnegan has started this 2016 season. He went into Chicago and showed he's not afraid of anything.
I mean, don't you just love the way this guy goes about his business? I mean, he just keeps coming after you and coming after you. I mean, he's not blessed with the best fastball in the world, but I'll tell you what, this guy has got some kind of heart, and he'll throw enough strikes to keep you honest. He likes to work up in the zone where he's got a very deceptive four-seam fastball. And he's with that changeup that he's working in there, he can be an extremely effective pitcher. Now today, he's got his hands full with Adam Wainwright. You know, he's been a Cy Young Award candidate nearly every time he takes them out. Coming off an injury last year where he missed the entire season or thereabout with an Achilles injury, he's really not back to groove right now. So just maybe the Reds are getting him at the right time.
So it's Wainwright against Finnegan. A beautiful day for baseball. The Reds try to win a game on this road trip. It'd be nice to get one today here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. A guy that looked awful right last night was Joey Votto. When we return, we'll talk baseball. We'll talk big swings. We'll talk V as in victory, Joey Votto. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is being brought to you by Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your tri-state Chevy dealers. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Hey, feeling good? It's Skyline time. You know, we're always feeling good when Joey Votto steps into the batter's box, because last night another example of why Joey Votto is Joey Votto, Chris.
Well, the guy's amazing. I mean, you think you get him with 2 strikes, you're going to get him out. That's not the case, and he showed us last night in a bat against Carlos Martinez. Martinez jumps out ahead of Joey Votto in this at bat very quickly. First pitch breaking ball, next pitch fastball. Now you got an 0-2 count, and YADIER Molina is going to set up inside after this count right here, and you're going to see him, and he says, this is where I want the ball. Now, this is where 3 things can happen for a pitcher. Number 1, you can hit your spot and probably get a good outcome out of it. Or number 2, you miss inside and you hit the batter. Or number 3, you miss out over the plate. And a lot of times when you miss out over the plate, you get some damage. But against Joey Votto, the ultimate damage right there. Look at that ball sliding out over the plate. Votto on a 1-2 count hits an opposite field for a 3-run home run. The guy is an amazing hitter. And just because you got him 2 strikes does not mean you have him where you want him. Because on a 0-2 count this year, he's batting .500. Last year, he still was way better than the league average, which was 174. With 2 strikes, Joey Votto last year, nearly a .240 hitter. And if you can hit .240 in any count, you can make $5 million a year. So you can see Joey Votto is just one special hitter. It's funny, George. I saw him in the clubhouse. I told him that was a very impressive at bat last night. And he said, "Thank you."
That's it.
And I said, "Well, do you want to elaborate on it?" No. Thank you. So that's very understated in the way he goes about it. But in his head, when he gets in that batter's box, boy, he is battling the pitcher like nobody else.
It's called about making professional at-bats, and that's what Joey Votto does every time he's in the box. Coming up, JD will be by talking to Dan McLaughlin as we talk about offense and talk about this Cardinals team.
Check out today's storylines brought to you by Elk and Elk. Cardinals offense, big disparity between wins and losses. Over 10 runs per game in their 6 wins, under 3 in their 4 losses. The average, big-time disparity. Look at the average with runners in scoring position, but the home runs really stand out. 14 runs or home runs in their wins and just 3 in their 4 losses. To talk more about the Cardinals, my pleasure to bring in the television play-by-play voice of the Cardinals, Dan McLaughlin, on Fox Sports Midwest. Now, outside of those first 3 games against Pittsburgh, man, this offense has been unreal.
It is, and you know, it's surprising because after those first 3 games in Pittsburgh, the Cardinals struck out in the 3 games 37 times. 37. So we came out of that thinking, uh-oh, this could be a long year. But when you face Liriano and some of the very good pitching that the Pirates can throw out there, as you'll see, it can be a tough series. But after that, the Cardinals went down to Atlanta. They had pinch hit home runs. They're hitting a bunch of home runs, and it's carried over to the Milwaukee series and certainly what we saw last night.
Well, the expectations are always high here in St. Louis, and why not? The Cardinals have certainly earned it. Looking at the Central Division, looks like it's going to be just as tough this year as it was last year, but everyone picking the Cubs as the darling pick.
We have to talk about this?
Yeah, what are the feelings around here, because that's such a big rivalry?
Well, it's the biggest rivalry that the Cardinals have, and it's been that way for years, and there have been a lot of down times for the Chicago Cubs, and then there's been some good times, and now I think the Cubs fans think this is the best of times, and they're very good. There's no doubt about it, but I do think the Cardinals and the fan base are sick of hearing about the Cubs, and what added to that is when you have a guy like Jason Hayward who leaves the situation here in St. Louis, and reports indicate that the Cardinals offered more money with the buyouts and he doesn't stay in St. Louis, our fan base and all of us around the club, we're not used to that. When you come to St. Louis, hey, you're supposed to stay. And now not only did he not stay, but he goes to the rival team in the Chicago Cubs. So Monday night when they're here, this place is going to be rocking. We've got, I think, 44,000 tickets already sold for the game. A lot of Cub fans will be here, but when he's introduced, Hayward, and Lackey, by the way, I think is supposed to start on Monday, it's really going to add a lot to this rivalry because, again, I think most people in town are just sick of hearing about the Cubs. If it was the Reds, the Pirates, Milwaukee, okay, we can handle that. The Cubs, we don't like that.
Love the rivalries in baseball. Dan, appreciate your insight.
Great to see you, Jim.
All right, that's Dan McLaughlin. Stay tuned. Right around the corner, it's the lineups and first pitch. Little day baseball from Busch Stadium in St. Louis on Fox Sports Ohio.
Bright sunshine, blue skies. Let's play 2. We'll play 2 today, but what a beautiful day for baseball here in downtown St. Louis at Busch Stadium number 3. Another sellout crowd expected as the Reds and Cardinals go at it in game number 2. Let's check Brian Price's starting lineup for game 2 of this series. The red hot Zach Cozart hitting in 6 straight and over 400 will lead it off. Eugenio Suarez also over 300 bats second. Joey Votto hit his first homer of the year last night, followed by Brandon Phillips. Bruce Mesoraco Duval foul. Schebler and Finnegan, that's 1 through 9 for the Reds against this big, tall right-hander from Atlanta. Chris, he missed most of last year, came in to relieve at the end of the year, and he's back leading this rotation in 2016.
It really is amazing that the Cardinals were able to recover from the loss of Wainwright last year. He did it in his 4th start, because he is more than just the top of the rotation pitcher. He's really their emotional leader, not only on the pitching staff, but throughout the entire dugout. Big, tall guy, 6 feet 7 inches tall.
And gets some help from his defense on the first play of the game. A bouncer off the bat of Cozart behind second, and a nice play by Jerko to nail Cozart. There's one away. Let's check your forward defensive alignment for the Redbirds. These two teams uncharacteristically have started off poorly defensively. The Cardinals have 12 errors and the Reds 11 already in the year. Holliday, Grichuk, Piscotty in the outfield. Carpenter, Diaz, Jerko, and Moss across the infield. And the Gold Glover all-time, Yadier Molina behind the plate catching Wainwright. That's your forward defensive alignment. So one away, and here's Suarez at .342, 4 homers and 9 knocked in. You look at the numbers for Wainwright, and he made 4 starts last year in 2015 before he blew out that Achilles. Came back the final week of the regular season to be back in the bullpen. That's where he originally started for the Cardinals, and it gave him a chance, because I guess that's important. There's another ground ball off the bat of a Red, and a grounder to short. Diaz has it, and there's 2 away. I guess for him, and he said it yesterday, just getting back at the tail end of the season, even though he knew he couldn't start again, it made his offseason a lot easier to get ready for this year.
Well, he actually pitched effectively for the Cardinals in the postseason. He went 5 1/3 innings of very good quality baseball. But, you know, the numbers on Wainwright, his numbers overall in his career are just astounding. I mean, twice he's won 19 games. Once he's won 20 games. He's been top 3 in the Cy Young Award voting 4 different times.
Votto delivers this one to center field. It'll stay in the park, though. A good swing for Joey. By the way, Votto in his career, 8 for 19 and a homer against Wainwright. Wainwright has a 1-2-3 first. Here comes Finnegan against Carpenter when we return. Carlos Martinez, he got a base hit and also pitched brilliantly as he led the Cardinals to a victory in game 1 of the series. He can sit, watch, and talk to the hitters today. Adams and Hazelbaker both getting the day off to start. But Matt Carpenter's back in the lineup, and let's check Mike Matheny's starting lineup. Carpenter robbed of a homer by Billy Hamilton last night, but got 2 rallies started with walks his first 2 times up. Stephen Piscotty will be up all year after spending the last 2 years up and down from AAA. Matt Holliday off the schneid with 2 homers his first 2 of the year yesterday, and 1 was a tape measure shot. Randall Grichuk also homered. Yadier Molina. Brandon Moss had a pinch hit homer. Jerko hits in the number 7 spot. Diaz homered last night, and Wainwright, the pitcher, bats in the 9th spot. And here is the Reds left-hander, part of that Kansas City trade last year, Brandon Finnegan, Chris.
He's making that trade look better and better every time he takes the mound. Finnegan on his 3rd start of the year, and he was nearly unhittable last time out. Went into the 8th inning, actually, before they ended up getting a hit off him, did the Cubs. 12 2/3 innings, 4 hits overall with 14 strikeouts on the season for the Reds left-hander.
Here's Carpenter with a shift against him. That's hit hard. 1 hopper. Nice job on a tricky hop for Brandon Phillips, the Reds' former Gold Glover. Flags it down, and there's 1 away. Let's check the poor defensive alignment for the Reds. A couple of more errors, both by Suarez last night. The Reds have 11 miscues on the year already. These are the 2 worst statistically fielding teams in the league so far. You know that'll change for the Reds. Duval, Schebler, Bruce, Suarez, Cozart, Phillips, Votto, and Mesoraco back in the lineup for the Reds, catching the left-hander Finnegan. Here's Piscotty at 243. And the Reds, who have been shifting more this year, shift against Carpenter, do not against Piscotty as they're back to a normal alignment. Good to see Mesoraco behind the plate again, Chris.
It is, and it's got to feel good for Mesoraco to be behind the plate. He has spent so much time rehabbing that surgically repaired hip, you know, being asked over and over again every day, how does your hip feel? How you doing? How does your hip feel? I mean, he just wants to answer all those questions with playing time.
One ball, 1 strike to the number 2 hitter for the Redbirds. In Chicago the other day, you couldn't pitch much better than Brandon Finnegan did, Chris. And you know, we talked about it last night. You come to St. Louis, you want to quiet the crowd early. Boy, he quieted that raucous crowd in Chicago for 6+ innings.
Well, that's what happens when you don't give up a hit. And I mean, he kept it very simple too. I thought it was very interesting, the game plan that he had for the Cubs. And I'm not privy to exactly what he wanted to do, but just from watching as an observer, you know, he went through the lineup the first time with fastballs and sliders, and then he saved his changeup for the 2nd and 3rd time he saw a hitter. They were very aggressive the last time he faced them, that is the Cubs. They were swinging a lot of first pitch strikes, and Finnegan found himself extremely effective throwing that 4-seam fastball right across the letters.
You see the grip that he'll take before he makes his delivery, Chris. He starts with the changeup grip and then will change it once he gets to the glove. And it's the changeup that's been the pitch that's been the biggest work in progress for him.
It has, and it'll only get better as time goes on. But there are days when you have it better than others, and you don't really know until you throw it a few times whether it's one of those days where it comes easily to you.
So a walk to Piscotty, and here's Holliday. Boy, what a day he had yesterday. He played first yesterday. He's back to his normal left field spot today. He hit 2 home runs in the first. Carpenter walked, Hazelbaker walked, and then he hit a shot to left to make it 3-0. He followed that up with a home run in the 6th inning, his first 2 homers of the year. His average went from 188 back to 235 in one night. Big burly guy. You talk about leadership. Wainwright does it for the pitching, and this guy does it for the position players along with Molina. High fly ball down the right field line. Swung over the other way was Bruce. He has a long run. He won't get there. He was over towards right center. He had a long way to go and never did get there.
That's about the safest way to stop right there. Get your butt down on the dirt, and you avoid from going over that knee-high size fence they have going down either one of these lines.
No balls, 2 strikes. Finnegan peers at the runner at first. The lefty delivers. That's a call, strike 3, a lively fastball. Holliday thinking it's a little high, and he'll bark a little bit at today's home plate umpire Gabe Morales. Paul Nauert's the umpire at first. Jerry Meals at second. Ron Culpa at third.
Finnegan's got to like it that they're going to get this pitch called for a strike. I mean, the top end of the strike zone, remember, is the shoulders to the waist. Take the midway point there, and that's it as the hitter swings. I think that was right in there as a strike, and that's where Finnegan is the strongest, pitching up and pitching in.
Spoken as a true representative of the pitchers union. Right in there. We'll take it.
Well, I mean, my opinion verified by the Fox box.
That's right. Here's Randall Grichuk, 241, couple of homers, 6 knocked in. He homered yesterday. Started off with a very difficult series in Pittsburgh. And little by little, he's gotten his eye back. He's gotten his rhythm back. And the Reds will overshift against him with 3 infielders to the second base side of the bag.
Well, Grichuk likes to rip up there. I mean, he just gets in the batter's box and he just is ready to let it unload. And you watch where he sets up and how flat he holds his bat at the very setup. When you've got a flat setup like that, he's telling me that he's a high ball hitter, probably a pull hitter. Look at that, nice and flat right there. You throw it up there on him and leave it out over the plate. That's where his power is.
Yeah, Chris, you saw already in these first couple of at bats that Finnegan will come inside. And when I walked back yesterday after the game, the one thing that probably gnawed at me more than anything else in a night where the Reds gave up 6 home runs was the lack of pitching inside. Finnegan is a guy who will regularly pitch inside.
Well, you know, you made comment before the game that there probably won't be retaliation for 6 home runs because that's not the way they play baseball anymore. And it's right. But Finnegan, when he comes inside, isn't trying to, wake anybody up, and he's not trying to intimidate anybody. You just have to pitch inside in order to make the outside pitch effective. I just don't think that Grichuk is nearly as effective on pitches that are down in the zone and pitches that are away, especially down and away, as he is when the pitches are up and on the inner third of the plate. And the setup tells me just about all you need to know about that.
3-2, Reds still overshifted. In the dirt, that's ball 4, second walk of this inning. So the Reds continue to walk a whole bundle of folks.
Well, this was the one thing about that game that Finnegan had against the Chicago Cubs, which was a little one of those things that kind of stood out. You know, he was on his way to a no-hitter, went 6 2/3 in that ball game, but he walked 5. Struck out 5, yes, but he walked 5. And in that ball game, the Cubs were being very aggressive.
Well, there's Brandon Moss, who had Yadier Molina who will step in. Molina with Moss on deck. Molina, as usual, the pulse speed of this team defensively, and when he's healthy, offensively, always comes up with big hits. So far on the year, he's at .341, no homers and 6 knocked in. Perennial Gold Glover, not just a Gold Glover. He's won 8 goals, and 4 of the 5 Platinum Glove awards have gone to him. Only 1 year he didn't get it. Had multiple thumb injuries, and it's a nagging concern for the Cardinals as the year starts that he can stay healthy. Strike 1. Dribble down to third. It'll go foul. That's Chris Maloney in the third base coach's box. Over at first will be Bill Miller. Sure looks strange to come to St. Louis and not see Jose Oquendo in the third base box. Oquendo with knee difficulties, had serious knee surgery this spring, and he's out for the year, will not be with the club. So they moved Maloney from first to third, and Bill Miller, who was the assistant hitting coach, is now the first base coach. So a transitional month for the Cardinals on the lines. Down the left field line, long run for Duvall. Will he get there? Peering up in the sky, looking to battle the sun. He hauls it in. That was a little tougher than you might have thought, and a souvenir to boot. Here we go to the second, still scoreless. live streaming sports service delivers everything you've come to expect and a whole lot more. Includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Is Brandon Phillips to lead off top of second. Bruce and Mesoraco to follow. You look at the numbers for Wainwright against the Reds in his career. Not great. 8-9 in 23 career games. 17 of them starts and an ERA of over 4. But you go up and down the lineup. We told you about Votto, who was 8 for 19 with a homer. But Phillips is only 3 for 22, hitting 136. Okay, Bruce has a couple of homers, and Mesoraco has 3 hits off him.
Well, the one thing about pitching against a team as many times as Wainwright has faced the Reds have a lot of core guys that have been around a long time, and they faced him over and over again. So there really aren't a lot of secrets. It all comes down to execution on the part of the pitcher and the hitter. That's the pitch, the cutter from Wainwright that comes in about 86 to 88 miles an hour that has not been all that effective for him so far this season. Now we're only in the 3rd start. Pitched a game against the Pittsburgh Pirates on opening day, his 4th consecutive opening day. And then he pitched against the Atlanta Braves, and that's the game that he was very frustrated in. He just didn't pitch all that well. He only threw 52 of 87 pitches for strikes. Normally, he's a strike throwing machine.
By the way, congratulations to the Braves and the Twins. They both finally won a game last night. A rough start.
That's like the Bronx cheer, George.
That's the 3rd ground ball out of 4 outs so far for Wainwright. Braves now 1-9. The Twins 1-9. The Braves, obviously, very much so. The talk has been they're gearing up for their new ballpark next year, their last year in downtown Atlanta. So a rebuilding year of sorts, but still 1-9 in Atlanta hurts. The Twins off to a sour start after having one of the best stories of the year last year in the American League for Paul Molitor. Like we talked about last night when he played, Chris, very seldom did he have long losing streaks, just like the Big Red Machine guys, Bench, Perez, Morgan, and the group.
Well, he played long.
To that.
Yeah, but he played long enough to know and to reassure his team that it's a long season.
In talking to the Twins folks after last year, remember the Twins started horribly last year and then bounced back. They said the thing that impressed them the most in the last 2 years was how Paul Molitor handled everything. You really didn't know. He was a star. He's a Hall of Famer, but you didn't know as a manager, because he didn't manage in the minor leagues, how he would handle everything. And he led them in the most difficult times and got them through some tough times. In the dirt, swing and a miss by Bruce, and he's disposed of rapidly. First strikeout for Wainwright, 2 away here in the 2nd. And that'll bring up Mesoraco. Cardinals will overshift on Mesoraco. 3 infielders to the left side of the second base bag. And by the way, Chris, you and I were both commenting on it last night. We've talked about the proliferation of shifting. It started off back about 7 years ago with about 2,000 shifts. And right now, the statistical compilation of the first week and a half, there's a line drive to center over his Grichuk. He's got it. We'll talk more about it when we return. The Reds 6 up, 6 down. Here we go to the bottom of 2. Moss will lead it off. Yes, bringing the energy numbers. Brandon Finnegan, the subject of today's IGS story. First 2 starts against Philadelphia and against the Cubs. Numbers on it, Chris. He's the first Red to start the season with 6+ innings pitched while allowing 3 hits or less since Jeff Austin back in 2003. Remember Jeff?
I do remember Jeff Austin. Well, Brandon Finnegan is, if you get to know the guy at all, you just love him. And he's only been around the Reds for a short period of time. Had a handful of starts last year, I think 4 overall, making his 3rd start this year. He was only drafted in 2014. And there are 8 players from that 2014 draft that are currently in the major leagues. Only 8. And out of those 8, 6 of those were first-round picks. All of them, other than Brandon Finnegan in the first round, went higher, including the #1 pick, which was Carlos Rodon of the White Sox.
1-ball delivery, swing and a miss by Brandon Moss. Moss came in, pinch hit yesterday, and homered one of 6 home runs that the Cardinals hit. And for St. Louis, it also culminated a week and a half where the Cardinals now have 6 pinch hit home runs. And Moss himself has been outstanding, 2 pinch hit home runs. Matt Adams also had 1 yesterday. They had 3 in 1 game last Friday. I mean, that's more than, and there's Moss taking what you give him with the Reds over shifting. He bangs one in the left for a base hit. First hit for the Redbirds, the leadoff hit around here in the 2nd.
You know, the important thing out of this is that, first of all, that's a good bit of hitting by Brandon Moss. But if you're Brandon Finnegan, do not start to question the defense. I mean, if the Reds have a shift in progress, it's because they've got statistical data that overwhelmingly shows that Brandon Moss, when he's going to put the ball on the ground, he puts it onto the right side. So don't start second guessing your defense just because a guy beats it by going the other way. Got to stick with it.
So Moss is on, and here's Jerko at 176. A homer and 2 knocked in. You know, the old adage, Chris, when you played, you know, you pitch him away, play him away. In other words, pitch him to the opposite field. People will take the ball that way. The whole concept of shifting has changed that now.
Well, you're right. And that pitch, if you look back on it, you'll see that it was a fastball that was moving away from Moss. But you still have to be able to be committed to hit it to left field. When Moss starts doing that more often, he'll see fewer shifts.
Reds double play depth. In the air to center field. It'll stay in the park. Scott Schebler is there. Under it, got it. And returning to first is Moss. If you're just joining us, by the way, Billy Hamilton the day off today. Schebler's in center. Duvall's in left, and Bruce is in right. Through the early part of the season, Brian Price will continue to give Hamilton days off here or there to help him take some time to strengthen that shoulder that underwent off-season surgery. Here's Diaz. Diaz homered last night as well. 2 homers, 8 knocked in, and boy, talk about a guy who has taken advantage of the opportunity that he has. The Cardinals, of course, when the year started, had expected Peralta to be their starting shortstop. He's had a couple of great offensive years, but Johnny injured his left thumb. He's out for probably at least another month. So they went out to get Ruben Tejada from the Mets. They signed him to a deal. Tejada then strained his left quad. He's on an injury rehab right now. He could be back as early as tomorrow or certainly next week. So they brought Diaz up from the minor leagues, a guy they signed for 7 years and $8 million as a Cuban defector, and boy, he's been a shot in the arm for them.
Well, he has, and I'm not so sure that the Cardinals really look at Diaz as a guy who's going to nail down the shortstop position going forward. They like him a lot as a utility player. I mean, he's off to a really good run right now. He's shown you, though, he's got a quick bat, plenty of pop, but he likes to pull the ball. And if you watch him from just a scouting standpoint, you watch that front foot right here, and it's going to move this way a little bit away from home plate, and he opens up a little bit. And as long as he does that, you got to keep the ball away from him. You know, interesting, as good as Diaz was last year at Double-A and then Triple-A, at the beginning of the year, he was terrible. In fact, midseason, he was so bad that the Cardinals took him off the 40-man roster. And he did not get picked up by any other team out there. There was no claim made on Diaz. So any ball club could have had him. And then it may have been a wake-up call to him, but he just blistered the ball the rest of the season in Double-A. In Triple-A, he put up unconscious numbers. Didn't walk at all. He didn't. I mean, he walked a lot. He didn't strike out at all. And now he comes up to the major leagues and he kind of picks up right where he left off at the end of last season.
And he also had a visit from Cardinal Hall of Famer Ozzie Smith, who's been in his corner since he was signed. And remember, Ozzie struggled so much offensively when he first signed with San Diego and came here. By the time he finished his career, he's a pretty good offensive player. But early on, you could knock the bat out of his hands, and it was a message that Ozzie gave to Diaz that proved to be fortuitous last year. Number one, the Wizard.
And you also remember that Diaz missed about 18 months because they couldn't get his birth certificates and documentation correct, so he couldn't play anywhere. So here he is in his early 20s, not being able to play baseball.
Off the end of the bat, he's coming in now, going back. Schebler drops the ball, and both runners will be safe. He took 2 steps in, and the ball just kept gliding over his head. It looked like it would be a bloop into center field, but it went a lot deeper than Schebler thought.
Well,
now he's in trouble.
This shows you a little pop right here from Diaz, although that is a very catchable ball. You know, Schebler's primarily a corner outfielder. They put him out in center field because he's probably the fastest of all 3 outfielders the Reds have in the lineup today. Boy, nowhere to hide out there now. You got fans on over your left shoulder, over your right shoulder, and they're going to be razzing him for a while.
Well, the Reds, who committed errors last night to help the Cardinal offense, commit one here, so there's 2 on, still nobody out, and Finnegan with 1 out rather, and Wainwright will come to the plate. Wainwright has 1 sacrifice this year. Cardinals have only a couple. Wainwright, good handler of the bat, outstanding high school athlete in Georgia, football player, baseball player, the Gatorade Player of the Year, signed with the Braves. And Walt Jocketty completed a lot of great trades when he was here in St. Louis, Chris. One of them was bringing Wainwright here.
Well, this may have been the best one he ever made. He did that when Wainwright was a minor leaguer. In fact, they traded away Ray King, left-handed pitcher, to the Braves in exchange for J.D. Drew and Eli Marrero. And both of those guys were pretty good players. In fact, Eli Marrero is now the manager of the Daytona Double-A team for the Reds in the Southern League. And Wainwright blossomed into a Cy Young caliber pitcher.
Boy, and Ray King was very serviceable for 3 or 4 years for the Cardinals out of their bullpen, too. Saw him a lot back in that era when the Reds had so many left-handed power hitters. 1 ball, 1 strike, showing bunt again.
I'll tell you what I really like what Wainwright's doing. If you're a young player at home, I don't care whether you're a pitcher or a position player and you're asked to sacrifice bunt, watch what he does in the batter's box. He makes sure that when that pitch is underway to him, that he is at the very front of the batter's box. You have to have both feet in the box or on the line at the time of contact. But he moves all the way up, and by moving up in the box, you get a lot more fair territory to work in. Watch him move up right here. Well, he doesn't do it that time because he's swinging away.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And the genesis of his offensive approach too came from his days in Atlanta when he came up through the system in spring training. He sat with Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, that whole crew, and they talked about the importance of offense and the ability to lay down a bunt, the ability to get a hit. Here's the 2-2. Loop to the right side, but foul and out of play.
Despite the fact that Adam Wainwright was traded to the Cardinals and he's synonymous with the St. Louis organization, he grew up a hardcore Atlanta Braves fan. I mean, for years and years he watched Greg Maddox and John Smoltz and Tommy Glavine pick apart hitters in the National League, and he learned just an immense amount about pitching and baseball by watching that team.
2-2. Popped up behind second base. Over is Phillips. He'll haul it in. Infield fly rule called. 2 away. Back to the top of the order. Carpenter. last night was probably as good an example of what a addition Matt Carpenter could be to any lineup. He was 0 for 4, and he still affected the game. He had 2 long at bats to work walks that started rallies. Came up with a key defensive play as well early. He makes you throw strikes night after night after night. Grounded out to first, robbed of a hit on a nice play by Brandon Phillips in the first inning, up for the second time. 3 of his 4 at bats last night, he wound up leading off an inning. Carpenter, now 30 years of age, grew up in Galveston, Texas, another Texas product like Finnegan. Finnegan grew up in Fort Worth. Not a big guy, and a guy who had to prove himself every step of the way, all the way to the major leagues, and now one of the best leadoff hitters, one of the best third basemen in the game. 2-0. Cozart trying to keep the runner close out at second. Two and one. And the year comes to a conclusion, Chris. You know that Carpenter will be in that top 5 list, if not number 1, at pitches seen. He'll make you throw strikes. He'll give the guys that hit behind him the chance to see everything the opposition has. Broken bat, bloop. That's going to drop for a hit. Rounding third, scoring will be Moss. And it's first and third.
Well, good teams take advantage of opportunities given to them by the other team, and the Reds opened the door with an error in center field on a ball that should have been caught. Now you turn the lineup over. You've got to face one of the toughest hitters in baseball with runners in scoring position. And I know there are a lot of people out there that just shaking their heads saying the guy can't determine when he's going to get his hits. Why talk about risk? But the fact is, year in and year out, he finds a way to elevate his game when there's a guy out there on second base.
So first and third, and here's Piscotty, who walked first time up. And we have talked a lot about it the last 2 games. Not only do the errors set up offensive opportunities, prolonging innings. I mean, the inning would have been over on the pop up to Brandon Phillips had not the error been made in center. It adds pitches to the pitch count of your pitcher too. One ball, one strike. Hit hard to center. Schebler back at the wall, looking up. It is gone. Another 3-run homer for the Cardinals in this series. This one off the bat of Piscotty, and it's now 4-0.
I was uncertain whether this ball was going to have enough to get out of here. It looked like he got it a little on the end of the bat. Schebler keeps going back. The one thing we noticed, though, George, there was no batting practice today, but the first few fly balls that have been hit today, the ball's carrying pretty well, and Piscotty got enough of that to knock it out of here. Boy, that's like having a lead weight drop on your head right there. You're thinking you're almost out of the inning.
The arrow opened the door, and the Cardinals kicked it in. 431 feet worth of homer, and it's 4-0. And that brings up Holliday, who started it all last night with a 3-run homer in the first. Hit hard, backhanded by Cozart. And that'll finally close the door on the second. But 7 come to the plate. The arrow opens the door for Piscotty's 3-run homer. Saturday at the ballpark, April 23rd. Thanks to John Morrell, first 25,000 fans receive a Vitomatic Super Bobblehead. For tickets to see your Red Ledge take on the Cubs for as low as $12, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com today. Here's Adam Duvall up for the first time. Duvall at an even 300 with no homers and no runs knocked in thus far this season. This game 2 of the series tomorrow. It'll be John Moscott making his 2016 debut against Michael Wacha. The Reds will miss former Red Mike Leake, who will pitch on Monday against the Cubs. And that will be an interesting series here, Chris, because you know we talked a lot over the winter, and I remember hearing very clearly that Jason Hayward was on his way back to St. Louis. Then he was on his way to Baltimore, and then all of a sudden he ended up in Chicago. This may be one of the few times ever that a former Cardinal will come back and get booed. Breaking ball. Duvall's retired. One away here in the third.
And it really isn't anything that Jason Hayward said directly against the Cardinals. It was just all kind of implied, unsaid stuff, essentially saying, I really like the atmosphere in Chicago, implying that he didn't like the atmosphere in St. Louis. He's a good player. There's no question. The Reds saw that. He came up with a huge hit in the Brandon Finnegan game on an 0-2 pitch. But you're right. I mean, these Cardinal fans are good fans, and they're fans that appreciate good baseball and good baseball players, and they normally give credit to the opposition, or they give credit to former players who come back and play against them.
Hit pretty good to right on his horse is Piscotty at the warning track. He'll haul it in 2 away. And it became pretty public that the Cardinals had offered more money than the Cubs to the eventual contract that he signed, so that was part of the overall brouhaha. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. And these two teams, the Cardinals and the Cubs, have an edge anyways.
I mean, the kind of money they're throwing around to free agents now anyway, it's like getting an extra scoop of rice at a Chinese restaurant. It doesn't mean anything. I've got enough.
I liked your line before. You hit 240 and make $5 million. That's not bad, huh?
Look it up.
Yep, you're right.
Well, you want some examples?
Well, somebody's got to get it started. There's Finnegan, a rifle shot to center field. That's a base hit.
Wainwright looking over at him right there, because Wainwright had to do a little chuck and duck right there. That ball was just walloped and blistered right back at his head.
So back to the top of the order with 2 away. Here's Cozart, who grounded up. Here's another look at it. So Wainwright working from the stretch for the first time with Finnegan down at first. And the count continues for Cozart. I mean, every time he swings the bat this year, he makes contact. Not necessarily a base hit, but amazing. 41 consecutive swings of the bat where he's made contact. And he does it again, and that's a base hit to right. So 2 out base hits, and the Reds have 2 on for Eugenio Suarez. 42 and counting.
That's just really, you can't be happier. If you're a Zach Cozart fan, you have to be so delighted as to his approach this year. It looks like he's just entirely different than he was in 2014. In 2014, he couldn't have hit that ball at all. He was pulling off the ball. He was trying to pull everything. He'd become power happy, whether he admits it or not. And I mean, it just looked like such a controlled, confident approach for him this year.
Now, you talked about the conversations that you and I both have had with Jay Bruce and how it started in the offseason, and it's a approach you get to little by little, and that's what happened with Zach 2 years ago. Unhappy with his season, he reworked his swing completely. Now, you remember, Chris, when Bob Boone was managing here. Booney, and we talked about Ozzie Smith. They both said the same thing. I mean, Booney said he really didn't learn and figure out hitting until well after the age of 30.
Yeah. Until
he simplified things and realized, I got to do what I can do best. Ozzie did the same thing. Eugenio pops it foul and out of play.
Yeah,
grounded to short first time up.
They're not giving Suarez much in the way of a fastball to hit. He went down on a ground ball the first time up on a breaking ball, and this at bat he's seen a curveball and 2 cutters. Molina just wants to stay out of that power zone. Does not want to make this a 1-run game by making a mistake here.
Coming inside, jams him, and is a high fly ball down the left field line. There is Holliday, and they'll haul it in. So the Reds get 2 on, nothing to show for it. To the bottom of 3, 4-0 Cardinals.
Again here in St. Louis. I'm Jim Day. Starter or reliever? It's a question that Brandon Finnegan's had to deal with throughout his young career. He was a reliever with the Royals, starting now for Cincinnati, and I asked manager Brian Price about his maturation process as a starter.
And I think it's easy to profile a guy that's had success, and then let's not rock the boat. However, our situation is different. Kansas City was going for a World Series. We're trying to define who our best starting prospects are moving forward and who's better suited in the bullpen. So on the front end of this, we get an opportunity to allow Brandon to go out there and pitch and define his best role.
And unlike other players that the Reds have drafted, in which they have a history of now drafting closers and turning them into starters, in college Brendan Finnegan was a starter, so this is not new territory for him, and if you ask him, he absolutely wants to be a starter.
Hey JD, it's good to see you downstairs without your overcoat on. You didn't like it in his sun, huh?
Oh my, I was just telling the truck earlier, I've never been more glad to be roasting down here in the sun in my life.
Good job, buddy. We got to get him back in his golf shirt, though. This is one of those midsummer days.
Well, not quite midsummer, but if anybody deserves to work in comfort, it would be Jim Day.
Here's Randall Grichuk to lead it off, bottom of 3. And back to Finnegan, Chris. You know, he probably never would have gotten the full shot in Kansas City because they're gearing up for another run for the World Series. They don't have slots open in the starting rotation. So for him, this is an opportunity that he's waited for and finally has.
Well, you're right.
Ball to short.
And I think every young pitcher wants to be a starter, unless you've been groomed as a reliever. A lot of pitchers have come up through, say, a big college program. They get drafted at the top of the round, and they become an immediate, you know, a closer in the minor leagues. But Finnegan, you know, why wouldn't you want to be a starter? First of all, you look at the money that they're throwing around as starters nowadays compared to relievers. And if you're Brandon Finnegan, if you're going to be a reliever, you got to ask yourself, would I be a closer? Because if you're going to be in the bullpen, that's where you want to be. If you can't be a closer in the bullpen, you want to be a starter. And that and the fact you get to play golf a few times a week between starts. You can't ignore the important stuff.
That's right. Let's put first things first here. No balls, 1 strike. That's strike number 2 to Yadier Molina, who flied to left first time up.
And there's no reason why Brandon Finnegan can't do it. I mean, he's got plenty of arm. He's got a great feel for pitching. It's all about the development of his secondary pitches and command of his fastball.
Suarez across the infield, and there's 2 away. Finnegan went to TCU, was an outstanding player there, and was drafted by the Royals in 2014. He was a starter in the minor leagues. The Royals didn't need a starter. They needed help in the bullpen for the stretch run. They ended up bringing him up at the end of the year. He eventually pitched in the World Series. That came after he pitched in the College World Series, becoming the first player to do that, pitch in the College World Series and the regular World Series the first year. In the following January, as you know, I do the rookie development program down in the Washington, D.C. area at Lansdowne Convention Center. It's a joint project that the Major Leagues and the Players Association work together on. Finnegan came in to tell some of the young players what he went through. We'll talk about that next inning. Brandon Finnegan has a clean 1-2-3, his first of the day. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing heads to Bristol, Tennessee, starting at 12:30 Eastern, only on Fox. I'll watch it live on Fox Sports Go. The weather finally turning the corner for baseball, for NASCAR too. Tomorrow, 12:30. There's Joey Votto facing Wainwright. Line drive left, over is Holliday. He won't get there. It's 2 hops to the wall. Votto round first, heading to second, and he'll cruise in with a 2-base hit. Nice chess match, Wainwright and Votto, Chris.
Well, in his career, Wainwright has had the best of Votto. Votto comes in batting $176 off of Wainwright, but you know, these are both players at the top of their careers and at the top of the league. And you know, good pitching is going to stop good hitting, although Votto is beginning to see the ball a whole lot better now than he was a week ago. That was evidenced last night by that home run that he hit opposite field here.
So Wainwright from the stretch will face Phillips. Brandon bounced to second first time up. Slap the other way and out of play for strike one.
You know, if you're sitting at home and you're a pitching fan, watching Adam Wainwright pitch, it can really be enlightening. I mean, it's really like watching Greg Maddux at 6'7", because he pitches to both sides of the plate. Yadier, Molina, and Wainwright, they work seamlessly together. When Molina wants it in, he'll get it inside, not drift it out off the plate. You see, so even Molina will signal to him, that was a good spot right there. You know, the last thing you want to do is to come inside and then have that ball drift out over the dish. He did the same thing to end the inning last inning against Eugenio Suarez.
1 ball, 1 strike. Breaking ball just misses.
We talked about Wainwright being a Braves fan. You know, when he was growing up, they used to clip out articles that would appeared in any of the papers down in Georgia. He was from Brunswick, Georgia, that had quotes from Leo Mazzoni, the Braves pitching coach. And, you know, he had a knack for saying little mottos that were kind of catchy. And one, for instance, would be, you know, be stubborn with your stuff. If you go out one day and you don't have a good fastball or a good curveball, you're stubborn with your stuff, meaning you keep throwing that pitch until it finally comes around for you. And I remember Tommy Glavine telling me that particular saying. And Wainwright had his room, the walls in his room filled with these sayings. And it really helped him develop as a youngster what his pitching is all about right now.
Fouled off by Phillips. And you talk about Wainwright and Molina. It's important for a pitcher to have confidence in a catcher to throw the pitch he calls. But it's also important that the catcher knows and has confidence in a pitcher to deliver a pitch to the spot that they want.
Yeah, you don't want to ask a pitcher to do something he can't do.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Phillips spoils another.
I mean, the thing that Wainwright does as well as anybody, and all good pitchers are doing this. I mean, you watch Jake Arrieta, he's doing it. You watch Kershaw and so on. But the plate is 17 inches wide. He's using that entire 17 inches. He's coming inside one time, he's going out twice. He's coming inside twice, he's going out again.
Wainwright just misses up and away, so we'll go full 3 balls and 2 strikes. Votto off second. Wainwright to the stretch. All 4, and the Reds will have first and second, nobody out for Jay Bruce. Freddie Benavides, the Reds first base coach, as usual, down in the third base box for the Reds. Billy Hatcher. There's Jay, struck out on 3 pitches, first time up in the second, up for the second time. They overshift to the right side against him. And you saw it start in spring training, Chris. This has been a year where more than we've ever seen Jay go to the left side of the infield for either bunt hits or base hits.
especially when he's behind in the count. I mean, it's one thing. I want Jay Bruce, when he's in the command of the count, I want him swinging and letting it rip. But when he's down 2 strikes, I want to see him adjust a little bit. And he's using the entire field. I mean, he's going to be more productive that way.
Molina goes out to talk to Wainwright after the 1-ball delivery. This is the way he's charted out so far, Chris.
All over the place.
There's another. A bloop to left. Here comes Votto around third. They're going to send him. Holliday comes up throwing. The throw to the plate will be cut, and the Reds get on the board. Good job by Votto at the crack of the bat, off and running. Good job by Hatcher to sell him. He sends him, and the Reds get a run in, and it's 1st and 2nd. It's a 4-1 game.
Well, a little breaking ball right there that Jay Bruce fights off. He's thinking he sees it well. He's going to keep his hands inside. He does that. You're going to run more often than not on Holliday if you give him a chance. And you're able to get one.
Come on, Dad. Come on, Dad.
So Phillips goes to second. Bruce is on at first. Still nobody out, and here's Mesoraco, line to center, first time up. And Wainwright, I mean, every starter's the same way. You love to get in a groove and work from your windup. The Reds have gotten them into the stretch here in the 4th inning and trying to do some business. And he's pronto ahead 0-2 to Mesoraco. Great to have you with us, George Grant, Chris Welsh, Jim Day, here at Busch Stadium #3 in St. Louis. A beautiful day for baseball. Down the 3rd, scooped up by Carpenter to get one, on to first, not in time. They'll get an out at second. It'll be 1st and 3rd for the Reds with 1 away. Not much Carpenter could do with that other than just get the force, and Bruce barreling in down at second base. Here comes Duvall, struck out looking first time up. Bottom of the order now. Duvall, Schebler, and Finnegan have to try to keep this inning going. Mesoraco at first, Phillips down at third. Middle of the infield double play depth for Duvall. Waves at that for strike 1. Adam now 27, the Louisville native. Originally a Giant selectee, picked up by the Reds in the Mike Leake deal. Another bouncer down to third. They'll get one. A high throw will prevent him from turning anything more than that. The Reds will get another run out of it. Hustling down the line is Duvall, and it's a 4-2 ball game. Inch by inch.
Center fielder Scott.
Well, Wainwright has done everything he can to get a couple of ground balls to help him get out of the inning. Unfortunately for him, and good for the Reds, the balls weren't hit very hard. You know, even with the new rule, the legitimate slide rule that they put into MLB this year, you don't want to be in the way of Devin Mesoraco coming into second base.
Back-to-back slides, Mesoraco and Bruce barreling over the bag, bearing down on Jerko. And the throw high really precluded any chance to complete a double play, and Duvall hustled down the line. So here's Schebler, flied to right first time up. That's a strike. Not often that Duvall and Schebler each are in the lineup together. Usually they've been platooning over and left, but with Hamilton out, they're back to back in the 7th and 8th spots today. And Chris, you really don't know about a player that, I mean, Duvall we knew a little bit about. He got reports from Louisville, and certainly we knew the Giants and their staff had told us a little bit about him, but really didn't know much about Scott Schebler until he came to camp with the Reds. And you're impressed by him as a person and his energy. There's a grounder. He's retired here. But the Reds finally get something going. Leadoff double by Votto starts it. They put 2 on the board. It's a 4-2 game. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on United States News Best Children's Hospital. Great to have you with us here in St. Louis. George Grand, Chris Welsh, and Jim Day. And as usual, down in the truck, Josh Hall, our producer. Roy Alpers, our director. Kevin Penowitz on the trip with us, this part of the trip. And Lauren White styling up some graphics for us as well. And of course, the guys back in the studios in Cincinnati will be filling you in later on with an update. And of course, the post-game show. Jeff Pecoro, Ryan Giesenslaw, Kent Dreamweaver, Ron Millinor, the whole crew keeping you up to date on the Reds after a week of on the road. The Reds will head home this weekend. After this weekend, the Rockies and Cubs will be coming to town. There's Jerko to lead it off in the bottom of 4. Jerko, Diaz, and Wainwright due up. And you look at the pitch hit home runs that the Cardinals have, 6 of them already this year, and you say that's odd. Certainly it is. I mean, they had, well, they have 3 or 4 last year. That's all for the whole season. But the one thing they did try to do when last year they had some younger players on the bench, they did have to try this year to try to get a little more pop into their bench for late in the game pinch hitting opportunities, and they got that. Jerko can hit one. Brandon Moss and Adams, each of them will be part-time players, so that there's a good chance each of them will have a chance off the bench. You got some home run power on this club from the bench. Jerko fly to center first time up. You know, back to the story we were telling about Finnegan, Chris, with after his appearance in the College World Series and then the real World Series for Kansas City, he came to rookie development because they didn't anticipate he would have been called up. They just had a need and they inserted him in the bullpen, and he delivered. And we have sessions where some of those that have had a taste of the major leagues get to talk to the rest of the minor leaguers. And rookie development, each team sends its top 2 or 3 prospects to Lansdowne Convention Center for a week. And they're the players that most of them haven't made it to the major leagues. They're in AA or AAA. And the concept is to teach you how to be a major leaguer off the field, not on the field. All these players are the cream of the crop athletically. There's psychologists, psychiatrists. Walter Updegrave comes in from Money Magazine to tell you about how to save your money and, you know, handle your money. The FBI has a representative. You know, Billy Beane came in to talk about diversity this year. So there are very many issues to talk about off the field. Here's Finnegan on the 2-2. That's wide, full count, 3-2. And once in a while you get a player that's been in the major leagues. Finnegan was one, and I asked him to sit up and with me and talk to some of the younger players about what it was like to go up there, and he gave them a real tutorial. On the line, long run, Schebler, will he get there? He does. Like he put it in his pocket, a line drive out. Nice play by Schebler, 1 away. You know, basically he said, you know, look, we've all been stars. We all were stars in high school. We all were stars in college, some of you. When you get there, he said, mind your P's and Q's, work hard. Mike Swanson, the PR director for the Kansas City Royals, was there at the same time too. And he told a couple of stories about how he made the transition. Bottom line was, you've been there, Chris, and you try to tell these young players, when you get there, learn from those who came before you, whether that's as a pitcher, as a hitter, or even more importantly, how to conduct yourself.
Well, it really boils down to respect, and you can tell the young players that come up that have respect for the game, for their coaches and manager, and for their teammates, and those that feel like they need more respect than everybody else. And Finnegan, of course, is a guy that he understands what it's all about. I know he's delighted to have a chance to be a starter on this ball club, but at the same time he wants to see this ball club do the same thing that the Royals have done, because he got a taste of what that's all about twice in the same season, once in college in the World Series and once in the major leagues in the World Series. And when you get that taste, you develop a hunger.
No balls, 2 strikes to Diaz. There's a bloop in the left. That's a base hit. Diaz started the trouble for the Reds in the second. His back liner to center field went off the glove of Schebler for an error. That opened the gates to what amounted to a 4-run inning for the Cardinals. Had not that error been made, no runs would have been scored in the 4th. And it's a 4-2 game right now. Here's Wainwright. Showed bunt early in his at bat last time up, and then later swung away. See if he'll be sacrificing here. Shows bunt. Mike Matheny in his 5th year as the manager here. He played for Tony La Russa, and he'll do a lot of the things that Tony used to do, Chris. He'll put a bunt on, take it off, then he'll hit and run with his pitcher often. Not odd to see him do that.
Well, if you have a pitcher that can handle the bat, and they have one there in Wainwright.
Wainwright steps out. Long look at Chris Maloney down at third. He rolls through some signs for him. 1 ball, 1 strike. Shows bunt, fouls it off. Hey, Reds fans, if you can't watch the games on TV, you can now stream Reds games live on your mobile device. Just go to your app store and download the free Fox Sports Go app. Log in and stream the Reds wherever you go. The Reds Reds will follow you everywhere. A 2-strike bunt attempt fouled off, and that's strike 3 for Finnegan. That's his second strikeout of the afternoon. Now 2 away, runner at first, back to the top of the order, Carpenter.
George, you want to send along our condolences and our sincere sympathy to the family of Karen Forgas, who lost her dad recently. He's one of the biggest Reds fans ever, Bob Kraft, and he watched games night after night after night, and so we send our condolences and our well wishes to Karen and her family, and the loss of a great Reds fan and a dad.
Our love to the family. Her dad was a big baseball fan, Chris. She would usually, when he was at the ballpark, she'd bring him up to say hello to us, come to the booth, and I don't know that there was a better Reds fan anywhere than Karen's dad. And she certainly garnered a lot of her love of the game from her dad. Our condolences to the whole family. That misses down and in. You know, we were talking about it last night, you and your dad, and me too. You know, we learned so much from our dads, and the great part of that story is that lives on with us. You know, those moments of sitting at the ballpark, you still flash back, even though our moms and our dads aren't with us.
Sure does.
Three balls, no strikes to Carpenter, who bounced out his first time up and singled in the first run for the Cards his second time up, and there's ball 4. He works another walk. Well, 2 on, 2 out, back to Piscotty. Here in the 4th, hitting the 77 pitch mark for Finnegan, and out comes Riggins to check the level on the tank.
I think more or less it's to kind of break up the momentum right here. You know, Piscotty hit him for a home run his last time up. Riggins can't tell him anything right now that Mesoraco can't tell him. And they just want to make sure that they kind of get Brandon out of whatever negative state of mind he may have drifted into after that 4-pitch walk to Matt Carpenter. That was the home run by Piscotty that went out to center field, 430+ feet.
Mark Riggins, the Reds pitching coach, after spending time in the Reds minor league organization the last few years. Before that, he spent 29 years here in the Cardinal organization. Longtime roving minor league pitching coach, a guy who was so well respected in his years here. So Finnegan from the stretch, 2 on, 2 out. Piscotty, last time up, drilled a 431-foot homer to center to make it 4-0. Diaz out at second, Carpenter down at first. But blocked by Mesoraco. No relief after this. Holliday's on deck, so a key at bat for Finnegan, a key at bat for the Reds here in the 4th. That's fouled on the right field line and out of play.
Piscotty is a #1 draft pick, although he was taken in the 36th round. 2012, came out of Stanford.
Tried to check it, fouled off, and the count 2-2. The bad news for the Cardinals is they lost Jason Hayward. The good news is after Piscotty bounced back and forth the last couple of years, he's prepared to take over in right field this year. Two. Ripped, caught. Boy, that saved one, maybe two runs. Nice job by the third baseman Eugenio Suarez, and Finnegan says thank you very much. A two-run saver from Suarez. Older can take advantage of the Senior Day special and purchase non-premium tickets at half price thanks to Tri-State Centers for Sight. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Rockies heavy hitting always coming to town. Here's Wainwright. He'll face Finnegan as we head to the top of the fifth in a 4-2 ball game. Hit hard. That's a fair ball. Into the right field corner. Rounding first, going to second will be Finnegan, and he'll cruise in. How about this? Brandon Finnegan pitching pretty good and 2 for 2 at the plate, a single, and now this double.
I mean, these weren't blue pits either. He nearly took the head right off of Adam Wainwright the first time up. This time right inside the first base bag.
So let's see if the Reds can keep it cooking with Cozart coming to the plate. Zach bounced out and single, 1 for 2, shows bunt. Up high for a ball.
Well, if the Reds are looking for a replacement for Mike Leake, they may have found exactly what they need in Brandon Finnegan.
Yeah.
Guy that comes right out of college, essentially goes to the major league as a pitcher, swings the bat very well. Of course, Leake swings the bat well.
Sliced right center field, long run. Grichuk, he won't get there. Here's Finnegan. He'll round third, he'll score, and Cozart will hang at second. Another 2-hit game for Zach Cozart. Another swing with contact, 43 consecutive times now, and the Reds are back to within 1, 4-3.
Well, I'm not sure what vitamins Don Long is giving Zach Cozart, but hey, pass him out to everybody else. It just seems like when this guy wants to put the bat on the ball, he does it, and that ball just kept carrying and carrying. You just keep that swing right there, young man.
Still nobody out. Some rustling around in the Cardinal bullpen. Blake Wood had gotten up and started to loosen for the Reds. He's now seated himself. Here's Suarez. Bounced to short and fly to left. A jolt from the Reds third baseman would be a nice shot right now for Brian Price. Hit pretty good to left. Back is Holliday, reaching up, and he hauls it in. Alertly tagging and going to third will be Cozart. Smart base running by Cozart. I mean, he knew if it goes over his head, he's going to score easily. He tags and gets to third.
I think he probably read that as Holliday being able to catch that ball all the way off the bat. Holliday really wasn't sprinting for it. His first few steps, he was kind of gliding. Then he realized the ball was carrying better than he thought. And by then, Cozart had gone back. That's the way you're taught to do it as a runner. If you know it's a can of corn, go back and catch and tag up. If you think it's got a chance to fall in, go halfway. That way you will definitely be able to score.
So now with only one out and a runner sitting at third, a lot easier to get a run in from a couple of standpoints. First of all, the Redbirds will probably bring the infield in. And with Votto coming to the plate, that turns a 300 hitter into a 400 hitter. Here's Joey, fly to center and then double to left. Fouled at the plate for strike one. Now the Reds trying to claw their way back into this one, trailing at 1 point, 4-0. They're now down only 4-3 with their best hitter at the plate.
Getting this run in right here would go a long, long way to making this ball club feel a whole lot better about itself.
Ryan Price, top of the dugout steps, peering on at his outstanding first baseman, and he's down 0-2.
Well, a slow curveball to start the at bat off, then a cutter right there, right in on the hands. Votto goes into choke-up mode.
Yep. Hit hard, flag down. He hit it right on the button, but right at the second baseman. Jerko makes the play, and there's 2 away.
Boy, Jerko's made 2 really fine plays today already. He made a play on Brandon Phillips in the start of the second inning, which was a nice one, and that ball was scalded.
So it'll be up to Brandon to get the run in. The Redbirds drop the infield back with 2 away now. Phillips bounced out and walked on a 3-2 pitch last time up. Rip, that is a fair ball. That'll get the run in. Brandon around first, heading to second. The throw not in time, and the hand in from Brandon Phillips. He gives himself a hand of applause as Cozart scampers home, and the Reds have battled all the way back to tie this one at 4.
How about this Reds ball club coming right back off the mat? And it did not look very good. In fact, it looked bleak after the home run that put the Cardinals ahead 4-0, little by little, plugging their way away against Adam Wainwright.
Here comes Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach for the Cardinals, to at the very least slow things down. There's still nobody up in the bullpen throwing. A couple of guys stretching, but nobody in the Cardinal bullpen throwing. And this has been the way the season has started for Wainwright too, Chris. He has not been at the top of his game. I think more than anything, when we watch him, he's located some pitches, but he's leaving some up today.
That's the biggest thing, and I know that it hasn't gone the way they wanted to. You know, the last time out against the Atlanta Braves, not all that much of an offensive juggernaut. He gave up, 5 hits and 5 runs, make it 6 hits and 5 runs.
Well, here's Jay. Bruce struck out and singled in the Reds' first run last inning.
Then he tweeted after that ball game, assuring Cardinal fans that he will right the ship. Interesting, his Twitter handle is Uncle Charlie 50 as a tribute to that curveball.
Curveball. Strike 1 to Bruce. Missing down and in. They'll overshift on Jay. His base hit last time was through past the shift the other way to left field. He hit a soft liner to left field to knock in the run. He does the same thing here, and the Reds will take the lead. Such a chess match when you play the Cardinals. I mean, for so many years, Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan, maybe the best manager pitching combo of this generation. Duncan, a brilliant pitching coach, always working, always working the count, working the players, working their pitchers. And you added to that mix Yadier Molina. I mean, you had 3 professors. And Matheny is out of the same mold because he was a Cardinal catcher. You put Molina back there. It's like having a manager and a pitching coach behind the plate calling signals. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hit hard. Did he hold on? Yes, he did. Great play by the first baseman Moss. That saved a run. But the Reds have battled back to tie it. We're tied at 4 going to the bottom of 5.
Presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Hey, just a reminder, you should enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Good day for a cold beverage of any kind here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Got a pretty good one going. The Reds and Cardinals knotted at 4. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Reds. 4 runs, 4 hits for the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's Holliday. 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts. A view from the right field upper deck and the left field upper deck on the other side. They've got baseball ballpark village across the Esplanade where fans can watch the game indoors or be outdoors, and kind of like a Wrigley Field tint to it. Okay, Chris, we're back again. More changes at Wrigley Field. How do you evaluate what they've done there so far?
You know, on the field, you really can't tell. The clubhouse, spectacular, but the common fan is never going to get a chance to get into the Cubs clubhouse to see it.
Center field, Schebler there. And Holliday's 0 for 3.
I'll tell you, if I'm a Cubs fan, I like the changes that they made on the field. I mean, the free agent signings that they had. They brought John Lackey over from the Cardinals. Outstanding player, obviously. Good pitcher again. He pitched the same game he always does against the Reds and ended up getting a win in that one. Jason Hayward's a nice acquisition, obviously. Their bullpen looks strong, although they were never really tested in the series against the Reds. I like the fact that they've got 2 switch hitters in the first 4 hitters in the lineup. It gives Joe Madden a lot of versatility and a tough lineup to pitch to.
is Randall Grichuk, a walk and a ground out, and I really like the addition of Zobrist. He's such a professional player, and and again, the leadership capabilities that Joe Madden brings to the picture. You've seen little by little over the last couple of years the evolution of some of those young hitters who are just free swingers. They're taking some pitches now. They're going deeper in the count. And when you get a guy like Zobrist to show you how to do it, and Rizzo's grown up and become an outstanding hitter and a leader too. Little things coming together little by little.
Well, they really seem to be a team that is committed to whatever the game plan is that particular night. In the game against Finnegan, they were very aggressive because he throws a lot of first pitch fastballs. In the other games against Alfredo Simon, for instance, they were very reluctant to swing the bat until they had a strike on him. So they have a game plan and they stick to it. And I think that's a great approach from a team standpoint. I think if you get a good scouting report, everybody needs to buy into it.
High fly ball into short left field. Back is Cozart. Who's going to take charge? Zach will. Got it, 2 away. And how about Brandon Finnegan? He had that one little hiccup in the second, which was aided by the error where he gave up 4 runs, but Chris wiped that out, and you take away the error and there would have been no runs scored in the inning. So his report card so far for you.
Well, I mean, for what he's done today and what he's done on top of the first 2 starts of the year, the guy is at the top of the class.
There's Molina, flied out, bounced out 0 for 2. It's funny how this game goes. In the second inning for the Cardinals, had not Schebler dropped the fly ball in center field, no runs would have been scored. After the error was committed, there was a pop up by Wainwright that would have ended the inning, and the single and the home run followed, and 4 runs crossed the plate. On the other hand, 2 outstanding defensive plays by the Cardinals in the 5th inning prevented the Reds from not just tying the game. The Reds could have had at least 2 more runs, could still be hitting right now. The play with the infield pulled in by Jerko that robbed Votto of a hit, and the diving stop by Moss that robbed Bruce of at least 1, maybe 2 bases. That's baseball. 3 balls, no strikes to Molina. Green light, swing and a miss, 3-1. Blake Wood is back warming up for the Reds in the bullpen. And there's ball 4. 3rd walk allowed by Brandon Finnegan, so a 2-out walk, and here comes Moss. Brandon single to left, bounced out, 1 for 2.
Yeah, that's the kind of base on balls right there that you put under the category of a mental hiccup, because you're on the verge of a 1-2-3 inning. You've been running the bases. I know that he's a young guy. I mean, at 23 years old, he just turned 23 the other day on Thursday. So he's got plenty of energy, but still in all, you're making it much more difficult on yourself than you have to by giving a free pass to Yadier Molina. When all else fails, throw the ball on the outer part of the plate, make him hit the ball the other way. Chances are he's not going out of the ballpark opposite field. Make him earn it. But at 23 years old, to be doing what he's doing is pretty impressive.
So Molina down at first with 2 away, and here's Moss. That's a foul ball down the first base line for strike 1. Jerko is on deck. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Reds. 4 runs, 4 hits for the Cardinals. Redbirds led at 1.40. The Reds battle back with 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, and we're knotted. Broken bat, but against the shift, there's Brandon. Here's one where the shift took one away from the Cardinals and puts one in the pocket of Brandon Finnegan. 1 runner stranded. We're still tied at 4. Here comes Mesoraco. returns to Fox as two of the UFC's top light heavyweights collide. Well, over a 2-share, you against former champion Rashad Evans as one of many top matches on the fight card will be coming up tonight. It all starts at 6 p.m. Eastern on your local Fox affiliate, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. You'll be dialed in tonight, Chris, won't you?
If it's on, I'll be watching it. I'll have to go into that nice little French cafe and ask him to change the channel. Put fight night on.
Line drive over the head of Holliday. Here comes Mesoraco around first, going to second. He'll chug in with another double. Well, the Reds had 3 doubles in the 5th, and they start the 6th with another 2-bagger. So the go-ahead run is sitting at second, and that'll get him up in the Cardinal bullpen.
Well, the Reds needed it, and Mesoraco needed it. He's just been struggling at the plate, but he gets a barrel of the bat on this one and lines it right over the head of the left fielder Holliday. And he was running very well.
You think that feels good? Look at his smile.
Yeah.
Now let's see if the Reds can get him around. Here's Duvall. He bounced into a fielder's choice that knocked in the Reds' second run. Here's a line drive center field. That's going to drop for a hit. Mesoraco will have to stop at third, as he had to wait to see if Grichuk could get to it. So 2 hard hit balls on 2 pitches here in the 6th.
And they're not wasting very much time at all either. This is where Wainwright has been giving it up so far this year. When he's in the strike zone, some of those pitches have become very hittable, and that's a good swing by Duvall, taking it the other way.
Well, here's Scott. Schebler flied to right, bounced to second, 0 for 2. Seth Maness is warming up in the Cardinal bullpen. A very reliable bullpen that the Redbirds have. From the stretch is Wainwright. Off the hands. Jerko will knock it down. He'll get 1 out, but the Reds will get a run in. That gets a run in, and the Reds lead it 5-4 for the first time today.
Nice play by Jerko just to get to that ball. It was hit sharply by Schebler. Good news is that you got the run in, you get an out, but the out's at first base, so now you still have a runner at second.
And Jordan Pacheco's come out of the dugout. So Pacheco will pinch hit for Finnegan. So Finnegan's day is done. A solid performance by Brandon again today. 5 innings. He allowed the 4 runs. None of those runs were earned. And he's hoping his teammates can play a little add-on here. And combine that, Chris, with a couple of hits, a single and a double. A premier performance for Brandon Finnegan today.
That puts the pressure on Pacheco.
There's Jordan facing Wainwright. That slow looping breaking ball drops in for strike 1.
Yeah, this will probably be the last inning for Wainwright, based on not necessarily the pitch count, but the way the Reds are hitting him. And now that he's down by 1 in this ball game.
That's lined into right. That'll be dropping for a hit. Here comes the runner around third, but holding there will be Duvall, and it'll be first and third. He held up twice, once to see if the right fielder Piscotty could catch it, and then after he wheeled around third, Billy Hatcher just about tackled him to slow him up to make sure that he didn't try to score.
Well, the Cardinals have made so many superlative defensive plays right here that they've really kept the Reds from kind of blowing this game open. And I was afraid that was going to be yet another one just beyond and off the edge of the glove there by Piscotty.
Well, that'll be it for Wainwright. He exits, and while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. 30 minutes before every game with all the info you need for that day's game with Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And don't forget our post-game show coming up with Jeff Pecora and Brian Giesenslaw coming your way. Hopefully it's a smiling side of the scoreboard that they're reporting on. First and third for the Reds, already leading 5-4. Here's Seth Maness, Chris. That's a fly ball to center, tagging at third, coming to the plate, scoring another run, and the Reds lead at 6-4. And continuing his onslaught, Zach Cozart, anotar productive at bat. A swing and a contact play and a sacrifice fly that now makes it 6-4.
Now, the ball was hit very hard by Cozart. You know, when you bring Seth Maness in a ball game, everybody goes on notice that you're looking for a double play ball because he is such a prolific ground ball pitcher. But Cozart went down to get that one and was able to get it in the air.
From the stretch is Maness. The runner still on first. So now 2 away, runner on first. That's the first time in this series that the Reds are leading, Chris. But, you know, we've been here a lot over the years, and in recent years it's been few and far between to get any kind of offensive juggernaut going.
Well, Cardinal pitching is essentially shut down Reds hitting. So this is the first time in 11 meetings between these two ball clubs that the Reds have scored more than 3 runs.
Wow.
Talk about taking the
that's amazing.
Putting the pressure on your pitching staff.
And in the bullpen now, the lefty Kevin Sechrist is loosening. That's with Votto sitting. Here's a line shot to left by Suarez towards the corner. That's going to be a fair ball. Rounding third, coming to the plate. Here comes the throw. The throw to the plate will be late, and the Reds put another on. Pacheco scores, and it's now 7-4 Cincinnati. And Eugenio Suarez delivers with his first run batted into the game, his 10th of the year, and the Reds lead at 7-4. That run charged against Wainwright.
Well, they're not wasting a lot of time with Seth Maness up there, and look where his pitches are. Above the knee, you're not going to get balls hit on the ground when you get it above that kneecap. And Suarez, who has been due for a good swing in this ball game, rips it.
Here comes Votto, and with first base open, they will walk him intentionally and deal with Phillips. So they had gotten Sechrist up in case they needed him against Votto, and now Sechrist has stopped throwing with the base open. Mike Matheny won't even take a chance. Smart move on the manager. All 7 of those runs charged to the ledger of Adam Wainwright. 5 1/3, 10 hits, 7 runs allowed. Votto takes the pass.
Second baseman, Brandon.
And here comes Brandon. Brandon last time up double to tie the game at 4. He's 1 for 2 and a walk. Phillips 4 for 8, 500 in his career against this right-handed reliever. That's hit hard over the leaping effort of Carpenter. 1 run's going to score. Rounding second, going to third will be Votto. He'll stop there, and it's back-to-back doubles for Phillips. And Votto slips and dives back to the bag. Is he okay? Appears to be all right. But Brandon delivers his second consecutive double, and the Reds play add-on, lead at 8-4.
I mean, they're not even taking any pitches off of Maness. They're expecting strikes, getting strikes. They're hittable strikes. And these balls are struck hard. I mean, even the sacrifice fly was a line drive to center field out by Zach Cozart for the second out of the inning. Now I got to figure the Cardinals just simply stunned by this 4 spot the Reds have dropped on them here in the 6th.
It's funny, they had stopped Sechrist throwing in the bullpen, the left-hander, and now they got him up to start throwing again, and that's why they're huddling out on the mound to try to give him a couple of more moments to to get loose again, and Sechrist will be coming in.
I mean, the only guy that has not hit the ball hard today off of Seth Maness was Joey Votto, and he got an intentional walk.
So with Bruce coming up, they'll bring in the left-hander, and the Reds have rallied here in the 6th inning in St. Louis. From a 4-0 deficit, they lead it 8-4. Back after these messages. And you can continue to cheer them on and cheer on Joey Votto and the Reds April the 21st and the 24th when they take on the Cubs at Great American Ballpark. Don't miss a weekend of fireworks, giveaways, and a whole lot more. Get your tickets for as low as $12 by calling 513-38-RUN-REDS or visiting reds.com. Now the old Grady Little line that Jerry Narron brought to Cincinnati, Chris, keep the line moving. The Reds have done it here in the 6th. Here's the 9th batter to come to the plate. The left-hander Kevin Sechrist will face Jay Bruce.
You mentioned that he was up earlier in the inning, George, and they left him. They essentially had him sit and gave the inning to Maness. I wonder if Mike Matheny may have some second thoughts about that.
That's a pop-up by Bruce. That'll end the inning, but the Reds send 9 to the plate. They've turned a 4-0 deficit to an 8-4 lead.
still buzzing about the catch that Billy Hamilton made last night in the 6th inning. It was out the bat of Matt Carpenter, and man, he not only went a long way, but he climbed the wall to get it. One of the best catches you'll ever see in center field. We've seen great defense from number 6. I asked Billy before the game, where do you rank that catch in your young career?
Number 1 for me. That's the first time I really just actually robbed a home run and like brought it back. So it was a big night for me yesterday, and actually a pretty fun night. The game didn't go as well as planned, but for me, that catch was pretty good for me.
And Billy told me that he was glad that it happened here because he went out of his way to really applaud the St. Louis fans, who he says know baseball very, very well, and gave him a big ovation after that catch. He said, if I would have made that catch at Wrigley, it might have been a different story.
Amen. JD, okay. You asked Billy to rate him. We've asked you to rate the great catches by Brandon Phillips and the great plays. Where do you rate that one for Billy Hamilton?
Oh, I think it's number 1. I agree with him that it is certainly number 1, and he got some practice because he almost got to a Matt Holliday one earlier on in that game, and he says before the games he'll go in an outfield and he will practice that. He will practice how many steps it takes from his normal outfield position to get to the wall, so he has a pretty good idea when the game comes around, the surroundings and how to get there.
It's kind of like you. I know that you practice at every ballpark we go to how many steps it takes to get to the lunchroom. That's the first thing you look at.
And the menu.
Got you covered, JD. Let's rate, by the way. They haven't redone the lunchroom at Wrigley Field. Of course, you've been through 2 different ballparks here in St. Louis. How about here?
The food has gotten much better.
Huh?
I mean, much better. There was a time that it was by far the worst in the league, so it's at least tolerable now.
Rosard across the infield. Wood gets his first out. He gets Jerko for the first out in the 6th. So here's Blake Wood taking over, Chris.
He was really the only major league free agent that the Reds signed in the offseason. He toiled most of the season last year as the closer for the AAA team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, over in Indianapolis. But he has been so far so good this year. 5 games, has yet to give up a run.
Here comes Bruce. He won't get there in time, and that's a blue pit by Diaz. That's his 2nd one. He's been on base 3 times. Reached on the error by Schebler in the 2nd, singled in the 4th, and this base hit in the 6th. And here comes Matt Adams to pitch hit in the pitcher's spot.
You got to figure that at this point in the season, with the way the Reds bullpen has gone, I mean, it is really still a work in progress by Brian Price. He's not really sure which of these guys he wants to pitch in games in which you're winning, you know, how tight it. I mean, the whole thing is, how do you get now, you know, through the last 4 innings of this ball game?
So from the stretch is Wood. Here's Matt Adams, who hit a pinch hit homer yesterday, slicing this one to left. Long run as it curves and goes foul. I'm a little surprised that maybe the Reds don't have somebody up already in the bullpen at this stage, the way things have gone.
I think that they feel that Blake Wood is probably the best bet, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him pitch multiple innings here.
The hope is Brian New coming in, and this bullpen would be a continual work in progress, hoping that big number 36 can get it done. He's been around, Chris. He's 30 years of age. He pitched in the major leagues with Kansas City and Cleveland. From the stretch. That sliced the other way. That'll be a base hit. Duval will hold the runner at second as he gets it in quickly down the 3rd base. So back-to-back hits. 1 out, 2 on, and here's Carpenter.
You know, I know that the spray charts must say that Matt Adams pulls the ball on the ground, but doesn't it seem like against the Reds he does this every time?
You're right. Well, he's going through the renaissance that Jay Bruce is this year. He started it last year, finally trying to go the other way. Billy Miller, the assistant hitting coach last year, had worked with him so hard on it, and he's continuing to do that. So he burns the Reds, beating the shift with a base hit. Now 1 out, 2 on. Reds still double play ground ball, which you hope to get from Wood can get him out of this. Here's Carpenter. Robbed of a hit by Phillips, singled in a run and walked. That's a strike. The one thing you know about Blake Wood, he will pitch inside.
And he'll throw it plenty firm. That last one, 95.
Last year, Wood was at Indianapolis, AAA for the Pirates. Did an outstanding job in their bullpen. Over 50 innings pitched. This could be 2, 4, and that's it to 6. Bobble by Phillips, that prevented him from turning 2, so it'll be 1st and 3rd. Won't go down as a miscue, but it prolongs the inning. 2 away, 1st and 3rd.
Boy, this has just become so automatic for Reds fans to see not the miscue, but a ground ball turned into a double play, that when you see it not happen, you scratch your head saying, what is happening? Looked like a ball just came up on Brandon a little bit. He got his body down in front of it and took a higher hop and off the heel of his glove.
Infield drops back, and here's Piscotty. Piscotty, the biggest culprit of the day for the Cardinals. If he joined us late in the 2nd, a drop fly ball in center prolonged an inning, and then a base hit by Carpenter, and then Piscotty ripped a 3-run home run in the 2nd to make it 4-0 Cardinals. All 4 of the runs scoring after the error. Hit hard off the glove of Suarez. A run will score. Well, Piscotty, another shot off his bat. He had the homer, and then he lined out to end the 4th inning with 2 runners on. So a 2-for-3 day for Piscotty. The Cardinals are back within 3, 8-5, and here comes Matt Holliday. Holliday had the 2 homers last night, 0 for 3 today. Strikeout, ground out, fly ball out. This Cardinal crowd that's been quiet for the last few innings since the Reds rally, starting to rustle around a little bit. Holliday has faced Wood. 1 for 2, and that one was a home run. In the years where the Cardinals, just like the Reds, play the Indians in interleague play, the Cardinals play Kansas City. Here's a bouncer, tricky play, but Phillips there, got it. He made a tough play look easy, and Cozart covers the bag, and the Reds are out of the inning. So back-to-back hits, and then a base hit by Piscotty makes it 8-5. We'll close it with another look at the play by Brandon Phillips. And the Reds lead at 8-5. this time from our on the game summary. Piscotty's 3-run home run gave the Cardinals a 4-0 lead in the second, and then it was get back in the game little by little. The Reds scored a couple to make it 4-2, and then in the 5th and 6th inning, boy, did they get some work done. They had 5 different 2-base hits. Brandon Phillips had a couple of doubles to first tie the game and then give the Reds an 8-4 lead. Added up, and the Reds scored 2 in the 5th and 4 in the 6th to take the lead of 8-4, 8-5, and now it's an 8-5 ball game. 8 runs, 12 hits, and an error for Cincinnati. 5 runs, 7 hits, and no errors for the Cardinals. While all this was going on, Brandon Finnegan was outstanding again. You saw the home run by Piscotty. It came after an error, so all 4 of the runs were unearned for Brandon Finnegan. He gives way to the bullpen in the 6th, and the Cardinals have gone to the bullpen. Here's O coming in, Chris, a native of Japan and Korea.
Well, Seung-Won Ho, or O, is a slider machine. I'm not sure whether you're going to see anything but something moving away from you if you're a right-handed hitter facing this right-hander.
There's Mesoraco. He had one of those 5 doubles in the 5th and 6th inning. His double in the 6th started the Reds rally, a leadoff double, and then from there the Reds had a single by Duval, a ground out by Schebler to give the Reds a 5-4 lead. That's a strike. Caleb Cotham is loosening in the Reds bullpen. Boy, that double by Mesoraco had to feel good. There's a walk. O is now 33 years of age, and talk about veteran. He had over 350 career saves in Japan and Korea combined, and is the all-time save leader in Korea with over 270. Mesoraco on. Here's Duval. Struck out. His fielder's choice knocked in the Reds' second run, and then he singled solidly to center in the 6th inning. Long pause for O to the stretch. Here's the strike one delivery.
Yeah, the Cardinals have called up so many young players and pitchers over the last few years. You wonder if the pipeline is ever going to dry up. You sign a veteran pitcher like O, going into the Asian market to do that, and that's a sign of a contending team needing to plug a hole with somebody who's been there before, so that Mike Matheny can depend on this guy where he is right now at this stage in the ball game.
In the air to center field. Grichuk started back, now coming in, gloves it, and there's one away. And really, if you ask a manager, what do you want from your bullpen, I think more than anything you want to say, I want to know what I'm going to get.
Well, you're exactly right, and they got a pretty good idea of what O can do by watching him in spring training. He pitched very good baseball, had 9 2/3 innings pitched, had an earned run average under 2. He threw strikes. You know, he's not overpowering. His fastball is 92 miles an hour, but I mean, you don't do what he did over in Korea with the save record, what he has, unless you have an idea of how to pitch with a lead late in the ball game.
Here's Scott Schebler, flied out, bounced out, and bounced out again in the 6th, but knocked in a run, the go-ahead run, with a runner at third. And unlike the old days when the Reds and Cardinals saw each other in spring training, the Reds train now in Arizona, the Cardinals in Florida. They did not get a look at O during spring training. So when you went through the Reds clubhouse last couple of days, I mean, today they were all looking at Adam Wainwright video with Rob Kaufman. And beyond that, the next most requested video was of this guy. I mean, and it's one thing you can look at somebody on video, but till you actually see him, and with a funky motion that he has, it's an adjustment.
Well, you're right. And I think from the Cardinals standpoint, they wanted to have a backup plan in case their closer, Trevor Rosenthal, struggles a little bit. And he has thrown a lot of pitches. Rosenthal has.
1-1. There goes the runner, and he's going to be they try to sneak attack, but no good. The only other.
Let's hope that was more than just a sneak attack, because that
possibility was a hit and run, and if that was the case, there was a sign missed at the plate.
I mean, there's no way they're sending Devin Mesoraco on a straight steal.
He's looking back, so
a guy that's coming off hip surgery, that would be a sneak attack.
So they get the out at second. The only thing you can suspect, it was a missed sign by either Schebler at the plate or Mesoraco over at first. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And that'll do it. So a promising inning ends with a strikeout. But the Reds still holding on to the 8-5 lead as we go to the bottom of 7. Fox Sports Ohio is being brought to you by T-Mobile. Get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Billy Hamilton will enter the game as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. Defensively, he'll go in center field. Billy had moved into the on-deck circle. If Schebler had reached, he would have pinch hit. So Billy's in center. Schebler moves to left, and Jay Bruce still over and right. And here's Caleb Cotham will come in. If you just joined us, Brandon Finnegan started the game. He pitched brilliantly for 5 innings. Allowed 4 runs, none of them earned, all unearned. Wood came in the 6th. Here's Cotham in the 7th as Brian Price will try to piece together the final 3 of this one, Chris.
Well, 2 of the newcomers to this Reds bullpen, Blake Wood and Caleb Cotham, have thrown the ball very well so far. Cotham, like Wood, has appeared in 5 games untouched for a run. He does not have the fastball that Wood has, but he's got nice life on a sinking fastball, and he's got a sharp slider.
Former Reds coach Larry Rothschild, of course, now the pitching coach in New York, had Cotham, and he said, look, maybe he doesn't have the biggest arm, but he's not afraid. And to be a contributor late in the game, you need that at this stage. (2-0). That's high, and he's behind 3-0. There's the strike. Reds overshift against Randall Grichuk with 3 infielders to the left side of the second base bag. Grichuk walked, bounced out, popped out. He's got some speed. He's down to first. So leadoff walk here in the 7th, and here comes Yadier Molina. Molina flied out, bounced out, and walked. Showing bunt that pops off the glove of Mesoraco for a ball. Little bigger lead for Grichuk down at first. Reds double play depth, middle of the infield. That's a strike. Cardinals scoring today. Started in the 2nd. An arrow opened the gates. Carpenter an RBI single. Piscotty a 3-run homer. They added a run and an RBI by Piscotty in the 6th. Slice to center field. Billy is there. The runner, Grichuk, tagging at second. Here comes the throw, and it will be right on the button, and Grichuk will slam on the brakes. Billy's throw right to the bag. Grichuk tagged, went a third of the way, and then slammed on the brakes.
I'll tell you, for a guy that we heard through that Jim Day report about Billy Hamilton, whose arm is not completely 100% recovered from surgery, that had something on it.
So 1 away, runner still at first, and here's Brandon Moss. Moss today singled his first time up, bounced to short, and then popped out to the second baseman Phillips. The throw down to first will get past the first baseman Votto, but a good job. Hauling it in. By the way, Suarez rolling that in the overshift was in the right place at the right time. And had it been the regular configuration, no way anybody would have been there.
That's thinking ahead. I mean, unless you anticipate that play, you're not even in the vicinity.
Nice job by Suarez. Big swing and a strike, 1-1.
Well, you can just see why the Reds are shifting on Moss. I mean, when he swings, I mean, he plants that foot and then his right hip just flies wide open.
Ball and a strike. Cotham to the stretch. Good spot, and Moss will take a seat after the swing and miss.
Just challenging him upstairs with a fastball. Like a lot of left-handers, Moss prefers it down around the knees.
So good bounce back by Cotham after the walk. 2 outs, and here's Jerko. Jerko flied out twice and bounced out 0 for 3. This one will get away all the way to the tarp. Rounding second and holding there will be Grichuk. Well, the Reds dodged one bullet, but not that one. That wasn't even close.
You know, I wonder how many runners Caleb Cotham has picked off in his career. Not major league career, but career. going all the way back to Vanderbilt. Because the chance usually of a right-handed pitcher, other than Johnny Cueto, picking off a runner at first base is almost minuscule. The chances of you throwing the ball down the right field line far better than actually picking the runner off. It's okay to throw over.
So now Grichuk, good speed at second. Cotham to deliver to Jerko at the plate. That's a bloop into right. Here comes Bruce charging. They're going to send the runner. Here comes the throw. It will not be in time. They've got a shot at second. Not in time there. So the misfire at first results in another run for the Redbirds. And it's now an 8-6 ball game and a runner in scoring position.
Well, the misfire, George, is shooting yourself in the foot. And that's what the Reds have done in this inning. Strong throw by Bruce, but it was going to be late anyway, and the throw back to second base not in time, so the Cardinals have another runner in scoring position.
So you got Jerko at second. It's now an 8-6 ball game, and Diaz, the shortstop, coming up.
Beginning to look like a slow bleed.
Double barreled action. Tony Cingrani, the left-hander, Ross Ohlendorf, the right-hander, in the bullpen for Cincinnati. Breaking ball in there. Diaz reached on the error by Schebler in center in the second. Singled to left in the fourth and singled to right in the sixth. Jonathan Broxton now loosening in the bullpen for St. Louis, with the pitcher spot due up next. Two miscues opening the gates for the Cardinals in this one this afternoon. Ozark smothers it, the throw to first in time, and that'll do it, but not before. The missed pickoff at first sets up a Cardinal run. 8-6, Reds lead it going to the 8th. We're ready to go. Here we go to the 8th inning. Billy Hamilton, who came into the game in the 9th spot, takes over at the top of this inning, hitting in the 9th spot. He'll lead it off, facing O in his 2nd inning of work, with Broxton loose and ready in the bullpen if needed. Billy showing bunt, drags one down the first base line, and they get him by half a step. Oh, doesn't panic. The veteran makes the play.
Well, I like the idea. It was a nice patient job of bunting by Billy Hamilton. Laid the bunt down first, then began to run. I guess they were just trying to test to see if O is able to field his position. Got off the mound pretty quickly.
Oh. Delivery wide. Here's Cozart. Zach, another productive day at the plate. Bounced out. Single to right in the third. Doubled in the fifth to start a Reds rally. And in the sixth, his sacrifice fly plated the 6th run for the Reds. They knew it had to happen sometimes, Chris. A swing and a miss by Zach Cozart. 44 consecutive swings without missing, at least making contact prior to that one.
I wonder if he has any idea that we're counting that.
Don't even tell him, right?
Well, it's up to Jim Day. I mean, now that he's broken his own record, I guess Jim Day could break the news to him.
I have avoided that like crazy.
Line towards the alley. This is going to be a couple of hops to the warning track. Cozart might have another 2-bagger. He'll hold up at second. Even though he missed his first swing, his second was true to the money. 3 hits again and a sacrifice fly for Cozart. So the Reds trying to get that run back. 1 out, 1 on, a runner in scoring position.
I mean, this hit will raise his batting average to .480. Having a remarkable start to the season, and he's making it look so effortless too.
So Cozart's on at second. Here's Eugenio Suarez. He doubled last time up to plate the Reds' 7th run. 1 for 4 so far for Suarez. They play him straight up in the infield and straight away in the outfield.
Boy, getting one of those runs back would be awfully big.
The lefty Tyler Lyons has now started to loosen in the bullpen for the Cardinals. Big swing from Suarez. He won't blow you away with his velocity, Chris, but just what we're seeing today, everything he throws moves.
There's something sneaky about that fastball, I'll tell you that. I mean, Suarez is a good fastball hitter, and he just blew it right by him.
Hanging in there, Suarez stays alive, fouled off 1 and 2. To the stretch. Cozart off second. That's foul down the right field line. It'll reach the seats. Great to have you with us. George Grant, Chris Welch, Jim Day. Don't forget, post game, Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw will be giving you the complete story of this one if you missed any of the highlights, and looking ahead towards tomorrow when John Moscott will make his 2016 debut against Michael Wacha. Good at bat by Suarez. You talk about so often, Chris, you know, the 2-strike approach of Joey Votto. He's shortened that swing, just trying to hang in and figure this right-hander out.
Well, he normally would think that he'd get a lot of fastballs sitting in front of Joey Votto, but loves to throw that slider, especially when he's ahead in the count.
Another 1-2 delivery. Fastball up high, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Missing down and away. We'll go full 3-2. Joey Votto on deck, studying this native of Korean and Japanese baseball like he's watching a pickpocket, huh? He beat him with a fastball. Last night the Reds struggled to get runs, but our steel power tool performers for today goes to the bats. Finnegan pitched great, but the Reds 8 runs today, most at Busch Stadium since August of 2013 when they scored 10. They just hope right now that can be enough. Mike Matheny out with the interpreter to talk to O, to make sure that they're all on the same page. And the decision now is, do you bring the left-hander Lyons in to face Votto, or do you go with this veteran who's been through it before? You probably even know who Joey Votto is, right?
Well, Mike Matheny knows who he is.
Yep.
And he's hoping that that is the message that he's being able to get across through the interpreter. When you think about it, the interpreter holds a pretty powerful position.
This is a great addition, though, Chris, to allow this.
It absolutely is. It's a great addition because you're just keeping up with the times. Why not? Although I think they may have gone past the 30-second mark a little bit in that particular meeting.
This is the only time when that's waived under the new rules.
I didn't know that. Makes sense.
It's the only, kind of reminds you when you were pitching and Dick Williams came out to talk to you.
Now, he didn't need 30 seconds. He just came out and said, give me the ball.
Here's Joey trying to get the runner in from second. That misses for ball 1. Votto today flied to center, double to left, robbed of a hit on a shot off his bat by the second baseman Jerko, then intentionally walked in the 6th, facing O for the first time. Ozard at second.
Tell you what, this guy's been impressive. I mean, the scouting report I got said that he didn't have all that much of a fastball, but the one that he blew by Suarez was 94 and rising.
Dribble to the right side and foul, 1-2. Some players step out of the batter's box and you're thinking they're wondering what's going on. Joey steps out, you know he's got a game plan. One ball, 2 strikes. O against Votto as Joey chokes up. Muscles it foul to the left side. You know, they talk so often, and you mentioned about Jay Bruce choking up a little bit in Votto. Now, the great line for Ted Williams was probably the most apropos. He would advocate you choke up from the neck up. It's the mental approach. It's shorten your thought process, shorten your swing mentally, not just physically. That's exactly what Joey does each time. You notice 2 things. He mentally tightens up and physically tightens up. And it's like he contracts himself to explode at the pitch. Balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs and Cozart off second. And the chess match not only includes Votto and O, it includes the guy behind the dish too, and that's Yadier Molina. He often will come in. Chris will go back to that home run that Votto hit in game 1, and Molina trying to come in. Does he trust to come in with this right-handed veteran?
Well, I think so, because he's used to throwing to that first base side of home plate. That's where he's made his living for a long time. 357 saves either between the Korean League or the Japanese League. So he pitches through the first base side of home plate.
Molina rolls through his signs to the stretches O, and they want to make sure they're on the same page.
Now, you don't get the interpreter for this meeting, is that correct?
They got to have some verbal signs that'll work. All this complicated with the runner sitting at second and the series of signs that Molina's flashing. No signs flashed here. High in the air. This should stay in the park and be caught. Piscotty over, calling for it. He's got it, and the Reds will strand a runner. A battle between Votto and O. O wins this one, but the Reds still lead at 8-6 to the bottom of the 8th. Ballpark, April 23rd, thanks to John Morrell. First 25,000 fans receive a Votomatic Super Bobblehead. For tickets to see your Redlegs take on the Cubs for as low as $12, call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com today. Now ready to go as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and now that Jeremy Hazelbaker has been announced to pinch hit in the pitcher's spot, out comes Brian Price, and the Reds will go to the bullpen and bring in the left-hander Tony Cingrani. While the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. With some news and notes around Major League Baseball, we told you about both the Minnesota Twins and Braves winning their first games. Beltre, a new 2-year contract for Adrian. Bartolo Colon tied Pedro for his 219th win, second most behind Juan Marichal by Dominican. And Mark Trumbo, reinvented in Baltimore, 2 home runs, 2 big shots yesterday. Here's Tony Cingrani, Chris, and he'll face Jeremy Hazelbaker, the left-handed pinch hitter.
Well, you've got lefty and Hazelbaker, then you have a lefty and Matt Carpenter who's on deck, so it'll be more than a 1-batter outing for Tony Cingrani, but I can guarantee you that tops on his mind is throwing the ball over the plate.
And a slider does it for strike 1, 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's funny sometimes when you have a hard time finding the strike zone, you can flip a little breaking ball in there easier than you can your fastball.
The numbers for Tony. Life on that one at 93. Not just velocity, but movement. He's been a reliever with the Reds. They penciled him in as a possible starter, and it looks like this is where he's going to settle in, Chris. Hazelbaker has gotten off to an unbelievable start. Led the league prior to last night's game with a .481 average. You see where he is sitting right now. Well, what a tremendous start for a guy that's been 7 years in the minor leagues, close to being out of baseball a couple of times. Right place, right time for him right now. 1 ball, 2 strikes. To the stretch is Cingrani. Got him. The zinger delivers one up and away for a strike, and that's out number 1 of the 8th.
Well, he's only 1 breaking ball in this at bat. Everything else was a fastball, and Hazelbaker may have thought that was high and wide, but up to take a look at our box tracks, right on the edge.
Great spot. 1 out, and here's Carpenter. Carpenter today bounced out, robbed of a hit by Phillips, singled in a run, walked, and bounced into a 4-6 fielder's choice.
Big pitch right there when you can get that first strike in on a breaking ball.
Carpenter in his career 5 for 12 at .417 against Cingrani. Fly ball left side, giving chase. Schebler will run out of room. Schebler in left. Hamilton, who entered the game defensively in center. Bruce in right. Normal configuration around the infield for the Reds here in the 8th. Suarez at third. Hozard at short. Phillips at second. And Votto down at first. They joined us late. Finnegan, 5 great innings, 4 runs allowed, none of them earned. Wood, Cotham, and now Cingrani here in the 8th, trying to keep the Reds ahead. On the scoreboard today, the Reds trail 4-0 after an error opened the door for 4 runs in the second. They bounced back to trail 4-2. Tied the game at 4 in the 5th. In the 6th, took a lead of 8-4, and the Cardinals battled back to score their 5th run in the 6th and their 6th run in the 7th, and that's where we are right now. 8-6 Reds. Fooled but hanging in there is Carpenter as he dribbles it foul, and it's still 0-2. Hope you're with us tomorrow. Reds live again at 1:30. The game will follow. John Moscott will make his debut for the Reds for 2016 against Michael Wacha. What can fans expect from Moscott tomorrow, Chris?
Well, hopefully a guy that's going to keep the ball around the plate. He's got a nice slider, nice little action on his fastball. Won 7 games, I think, last year with the Louisville Bats, and only against 1 loss. So he's worked his way through the minors.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Spoiled another pretty good pitch, fouled into the seats down the left field line, stays 1-2. While Finnegan has pitched great for the Reds here today. Jake Arrieta, Chris, just continues to do what he's been doing all year for the Cubs, huh?
8 innings, 5-hit shutout baseball for the Cubs today, as they either have beaten or are on the verge of beating the Rockies.
Arrieta was leading 5-0. It's now 6-2 Cubs over the Rockies. That's now final. Cubs beat the Rockies 6-2. Arrieta now 3-0. He didn't miss a beat from last year.
It's funny, George, the one spring training game that I saw Jake Arrieta pitch was against the Giants, against Madison Bumgarner. So you're thinking, wow, what a face-off of a couple of aces. And it was the most, I think there were 11 runs scored by the 3rd inning. And he couldn't have looked worse, but when the regular season has begun, it's been what you expect out of Jake Arrieta.
Still a 1-2 count. Cingrani trying to find a way to dispose of this tough leadoff hitter, Matt Carpenter. Came in, but up. 2-2.
That's a golden spot normally for Tony Cingrani, one of these rare left-handers who can pitch up in the zone like that. And Carpenter making it tough on him by not chasing.
Cingrani to the stretch. Here's the 2-2. Rocketed to right, but there is Bruce. Got it. Outstanding at bat by Carpenter, but fortunately for the Reds, hit right at the right fielder. 2 away. That'll bring up Piscotty, who walked, hit the 3-run homer in the 2nd, lined to 3rd, and then singled in a run in the 6th. So 3 of the 4 times he's been up, he's hit the ball hard. He's facing Cingrani for the first time this year. Did face him last year, but Cingrani walked him. Breaking ball, missing, down and away. Reds looking for outs here, 1 at a time. 4 more to victory. That's a strike. Many of you may have been to Busch Stadium, the new and the old Busch Stadium. Nice to hear it the way it is right now if you're a Reds fan. Very quiet as the Reds have taken the lead. Hoping to keep it that way. Foul territory. Votto has it. Good inning for the Zingers. Tony Cingrani has a 1-2-3-8. Game time for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Talked about all the 2 baggers the Reds have had, and for the Reds today, 8 total doubles. 5 of them came in the 5th and 6th innings when the Reds went from a 4-2 deficit to an 8-4 lead. It's the 2nd most, tied for the 2nd most in team history. So the 2 baggers have brought the Reds from a 4-0 deficit now to an 8-6 lead as we go to the top of the 9th. And here's a another former Red on this St. Louis Cardinal team. Jonathan Broxton takes over for the second consecutive day. He'll face Phillips, Bruce, and Mesoraco. Chris,
I'll tell you, the back end of this Cardinal bullpen. Now, Seth Manis had a bad outing today, but when you figure that they've got Kevin Segras, now they have O to go to, Jonathan Broxton, before you even go to your closer, that's a very strong way, if you've got to win en route, to pick it up around the 6th or 7th inning and pretty much nail it home. Broxton is off to another good start.
So Broxton will deliver to Phillips. Talked about the 8 doubles. Brandon has 2 of them. His double in the 5th tied the game at 4, and his double in the 6th gave the Reds an 8-4 lead. All told, 2 for 3 and a walk. He walked on a 3-2 pitch back in the 4th. Broxton to the stretch. Here's the 0-1. That slapped the other way. Phillips in their matchups 5 for 14 at .357 against Jonathan Broxton. Bruce will follow. Jay has struggled against Broxton, 1 for 6 in his career. And Mesoraco after him. A small sample. Fly ball to center. Grichuk there. 1 away. As you look ahead to the 9th, won't be an easy trek for J.J. Hoover, who has started to loosen in the bullpen. Matt Holliday, Grichuk, Molina, and Moss due up for the Cardinals, 3, 4, 5. Here's Jay. Struck out, singled in the Reds' first run in the 4th, lined to first in the 5th. And flied to left in the 6th. I mean, the Reds have the 8 doubles, and they've got an 8-6 lead, 8 runs on the board. Not often they score 8 here in St. Louis, but could have been even bigger had it not been for a couple of great plays by Cardinal defense. And in that 5th inning, Bruce's inning-ending line drive, a diving stop by Moss, they could have had 1 or 2 more runs that inning, and the same story in the 6th on a great play by Jerko. They overshift to the right side against Bruce. Fouled off, and it's 1-2. $44,425 here at Busch Stadium. Quiet now after the Reds erased a 4-0 lead and have a lead. Down and away for a ball. Earlier in his career, Chris, you remember when Broxton first came up, he was on the 3rd base side of the rubber. Now he's almost exclusively over on the 1st base side.
He's always been a guy that has just never nibbled around the corners. I mean, he just comes right after you, as you would expect a guy that is pushing 3 bills.
He looks aggressive, pitches aggressive, but a gentle giant. This ripped to right towards the corner, looking up, gonna be gone. Jay Bruce delivers for his 3rd home run. He worked the count back even at 2-2, and they get that run back. Boy, he kept the bat head in and drills this one right down the line about 340 feet. Good enough for a Jay Bruce homer. Our Volkswagen drive of the game comes from the Reds right fielder Jay Bruce.
Well, they got a slider that's just kind of hanging out there, and that's one of the things that happens when you move to the 1st base side of the rubber. You better bury that slider down and into those left-handers, and Bruce hit it on the line, got it out of here. The first run that Jonathan Broxton's given up this year.
And here's a bloop down the right field line by Mesoraco, but it just drops foul. So Jay, a couple of runs batted in today, including home run number 3 and run batted in number 11 and 12. On the list that we've been keeping you up tabs on, the end of last year, beginning of this year, 7th on the Reds all-time home run list now. He of course hit junior earlier this year, and he continues to climb a list that includes some pretty impressive names. Tyler Holt has moved into the on-deck circle. There's a catch. Jerko hauls it in behind his second base bag as the shift steals a base hit off the bat of Mesoraco.
Won't be much consolation to Devin, but the fact that he has hit the ball very sharply each of the last 2 times he's put the ball in play, that's a good sign.
A rocket right back through the middle of the infield, and great elevation for Jerko. Great
well, you're
catch.
not kidding. I mean, this guy has made now 3 really good defensive plays out here today.
Here's Tyler Holt pinch hitting. Holt in the spot now occupied by the pitcher, the 7th spot in the lineup. Hoover is ready and ready to come on for the 9th. No balls, 1 strike to Tyler. Waves at that, and it's 0-2. The Reds come into today with an overall record of 5-5. They have yet to get a save. They have 2 blown saves, but they haven't had a save situation yet. Holt hanging in at 0-2. Broken bat, but past the shortstop. That's a base hit for Tyler. So a base hit for Holt off the bench. He's going to turn it into 2 as he rifles around the bag and heads to second.
Guy's a hustler, isn't he? I mean, he was thinking double right out of the box.
I mean, Grichuk was shaded towards right center field, but by the time he gets there, the way Holt is motoring, take a look. I mean, he's got the pedal to the metal right from the get-go.
That's the way you play the game.
Amen. That's Cincinnati baseball. So let's see if the Reds can push this one in. Here's Schebler with Holt sitting at second. Waves at that for a strike. Schebler today flied out, bounced out twice. Second time plating the 5th run for the Reds, then struck out in the 7th. Dribbler down to third. Carpenter scoops, flips, and they got him by a step. Well, Jay Bruce is giving the Reds another pad as we go to the 9th. Bruce's homer, his 3rd of the season, turns the game over to Hoover as we go to the bottom of 9.
Tomorrow, April in the OHIO, the series finale between the Reds and the Cardinals face off in another afternoon affair here at Busch Stadium. Brian and Pick get things started at 1:30 with the Reds live. April in the OHIO is presented by Meyer. Zach Cozart, who will be efforting in the post game. 2 doubles today, part of 9 doubles for the Reds, which ties a club record, tying what they did on May 19th, 1999. So a lot of twin baggers. Let's see if J.J. Hoover can close it down.
Thanks, J.D. Hopefully you'll have somebody to interview on the smiling side of the scoreboard when this is over. Here's J.J. Hoover trying to close it out as we head to the 9th. Here's a line shot to right. Bruce is over. He won't get there. One hop off the wall. The throw to second will not be in time, and it's another 2-base hit. Well, it's a day of doubles. The Reds with their 9 doubles. You talked about it. It's the most since '99 against Colorado. It's also the most in Busch Stadium 3 history. And Holliday keeps the Cardinals' hopes alive in the 9th with this one off the wall. His first hit of the day, 1 for 5.
Well, if there's anybody out here who needs a clean slate, it would be J.J. Hoover, coming off just a miserable night in Chicago, where he ended up giving up 5 runs, 4 earned, in just 1/3 of an inning. And it was just one of those innings where he came in to get some work done.
Fastball, strike 1, 92 miles an hour against Randall Grichuk. Grichuk, 2 walks, a ground out, and a fly ball out. Holliday at second, Molina on deck, and Moss to follow. J.J. trying to close the door here in the 9th. Big swing. You talked to Jay Bruce about confidence and feeling good at the plate, and success breeds confidence. Same goes for the guy on the mound. He could use a confidence building appearance here. 0-2. Slider wide, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Grichuk 0 for 2 in his matchups with J.J. Hoover. Great spot. And good job by Mesoraco to pick it out of the dirt. Out number 1.
Yeah, really good job by Mesoraco and Hoover throughout the AB, but setting up this slider through pitch number 3. You see it up there on the Fox box. That was a fastball high and away, and then you come something that looks like it's going to be a strike but isn't. Nicely done, JJ.
So you're 1 out into the 9th inning. Here's Molina. Molina, 2 fly balls, a ground ball, and a walk today. 0 for 3. JJ to the stretch. That's slapped to the right side and foul. Molina in his matchups 2 for 9 against Hoover. Matheny looks on as Molina digs in and Hoover to the stretch. They play him straight away here in the 9th. That's a bouncer to the right side. Reds looking for outs. They need 1 more for a win. 4-3 put out, and here comes Moss. Well, after what went on in Chicago and after being given the closer's role, this would be a big first step for J.J. Hoover. Been a roller coaster for him over the last couple of years. 2014, struggled with a 1-10 record. Bounced back last year to be 8-2 and an ERA of under 3. and taking over the closer's role here. Be a special moment for him to nail down this one. There's Moss, 1 for 4, singled his first time up. A ground out, a pop up, and a strikeout in his other plate appearances. Against Hoover, he's 0 for 4. Hoover to the stretch. Off third after moving to third on the ground out is Holliday. But joined us late. Brandon Finnegan pitched great. 5 innings, gave up 4 runs. None of them were earned, though. Pitched outstandingly, and the bullpen has tried to keep the Reds ahead here in the last 3 innings. Popped up left side. It'll be out of play. The Reds trailed in this one early, 4-0, after a 3-run home run from Piscotty in the first. Bounce back to claw themselves back to within 2. 2 runs in the fourth. RBIs from Bruce and Duvall. Then in the fifth, 3 doubles and a run scoring hit by Phillips tied the game at 4. In the sixth, 2 more doubles, another run scoring hit by Phillips, a run scoring hit by Suarez, a sacrifice fly from Cozart, and the Reds had an 8-4 lead. They haven't been headed since then. Hoover to the stretch. Trying to get him to offer at it up high. Doesn't. It's 2-2. Good spot, fouled off, and it stays 2-2. Yes, missing down and away. Will go full, 3 balls, 2 strikes, and this is the guy you want to get, Chris.
Well,
you don't want the tying run coming to the plate.
You definitely do not want that.
Full count in the 9th with 2 away. Fly ball center field. Hamilton back, looking up at the wall. It is gone. Another home run from Brandon Moss. Moss's 4th home run of the year. He had a 3-run home run yesterday in a pinch hit effort, and here he takes a fastball to left center field, and it's now a 1-run ball game, 9-8.
Well, how big is that home run that Jay Bruce hit here in the 9th inning to give the Reds a 3-run lead? Moss goes down to get a fastball that looks like was about knee high and just rides it out of here to left center field. That ought to be expected out of Brandon Moss. He had 3 consecutive seasons of 20 home runs or more before last year.
What a tremendous effort by Schebler, though. I mean, he came a lot closer than you ever thought he would be to getting a glove on that. So nobody on. 2 men out. And now working from the windup is Hoover against Jerko. Jerko singled in a run his last time up, 1 for 4. And that's wide, and Mesoraco pumps his hand out to him. 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, nothing has been easy for the Reds in the last week. Why should today be any different? Big swing, trying to tie this one up with 1 swing is Jerko. Two. Won't offer at it, and we're full again. 3 balls, 2 strikes. There is no one loosening in the Reds bullpen. This is do or die for Hoover and Brian Price. Sliced down the right field line and into the seats, out of play. 44,000 who had been quiet the last couple innings into this game. That's up high, ball 4. So now the tying run goes down to first. The potential winning run comes to the plate. And it's Aledmys Diaz, who has 2 hits today and has been one of the keys to the Cardinal resurgence in the last week. Here comes Mark Riggins to try to settle down his closer. A double by Holliday, a homer by Moss, and a walk to Jerko here in the 9th. Never panic is Mark Riggins, and you know that that's the message he's given his closer. He has a way about him, Chris.
He does have a soothing way about him. You're right about that. He's a very soft talking guy and always sounds upbeat everything he says. But for J.J. Hoover, the key is to boil it down to the most basic thing of all, one pitch at a time.
Here's Diaz. Popped up. Look out. Mesoraco just bumped into the runner, but he gets the ball anyways. He bumped into the runner after the swing by Diaz. He was in the batter's box, but in any event, Mesoraco catches the ball. And Chris, it wasn't easy here, but the Reds end up with a victory here as finally and over the top of the plate, Mesoraco obstructed, and Morales points at him by Diaz, but in any event, Mesoraco makes the catch, and not easy for Hoover, but it's a smiling scoreboard for the Reds. 9-8, they win it, hanging on here in the bottom of 9.
Well, a win is a win. At the end of the year, they don't ask you how you did it, they ask you how many you got.
Well, the Reds get to celebrate at Busch Stadium for one of the few times recently, and Jim Day will be hanging down there ready to tell the smiling side of the scoreboard story of this one. Jay Bruce's home run proved to be much needed in the 9th inning. Brian Price gets the win.